get high. Well, this ain't no goddamn dream. It's exactly what it seems. Wake up today just to lay back down and say, I won't be coming back. Let's call it a heart attack. Give me some of that knack. This is just a final payback. They all flipped on me, took my passions, left me be. When I had a place to sit, goddamn attitude to fit. Talk real smooth, knew where to spit. But things have changed and I have quit. Got nothing to look forward to, but backlash full of lies. You're too late, where you're going. This is fate, the whistle's blown. It's much too late, so too late. You're much too late. Like a piss-hole punk with his nose turned up and a fragrance on your own. Tell me what it's like to be alone. And let's not forget the Scarface prick who offers fixed to your face. He dropped out of the subhuman race. Sad. Boo-hoo. I'm goddamn glad that piece of shit was just a fad. Tell me, boy, where were you?
And welcome to a brand new life, to a brand new day, all the way from the wastelands of California. My name is Michael, and I am a mere figment of your imagination. I look forward to once again serve you those sounds of salvation. First-time listeners, turn on, tune in, and drop out. Oh yes, I'm glad you are here and not somewhere else, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome all of you, even the new listeners out there. We do have some new blood. Boys and girls, be on your best behavior tonight. And we are live and direct right now on YouTube, and of course later heard around the world. Joining me tonight on this very, very special edition of End of Days, the Michael Deacon program, is Norio Hayakawa. Norio has spent 10 years investigating Area 51 in Nevada. He says that there is much more to Area 51 than just superficial facts made public about this well-known base. After more than 45 years of researching the UFO phenomenon, he says that a conditioning of belief systems have been orchestrated since 1947. Very, very interesting. And of course, on the second half, we do have more new blood. Stay tuned for that. Now, without further ado, let's bring in Norio. Let's not waste any more time here tonight. Let's get right into things. And I believe Norio is here. Norio, what's going on? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfect.
Oh, okay. Can you hear the music and all that nonsense, by the way?
No?
Oh, okay. I didn't want to bother you with that. Good, good. Really good. So, Norio, welcome back to the program. You are a veteran here, but of course, there are some newer listeners out there. I thought right now we could just sort of go through your early roots really quickly before we jump right into the meat and potatoes here tonight.
Yes, Michael. It's a great pleasure for me to be on your program. And, well, by way of introduction, I've been involved with the research on the so-called UFO phenomenon for many, many years, since 1961, to be accurate. And I was a tremendous believer in the extraterrestrial hypothesis of the origin of this phenomenon, but since the late 1970s, I started devouring books by John A. Keel and Dr. Jacques Vallée, and so from the late 70s, I have a different viewpoint on this whole strange phenomenon, the UFO phenomenon, and I've been just I have been actively involved in many organizations for many, many years, but it was in around 1988 that I became interested in a place called Area 51 in Nevada when I received some packets from William L. Moore in 1988, in which he told me that there was an interesting facility in Nevada called Area 51, and he showed me some Russian satellite photos. So, I've been investigating Area 51 for many, many years, in fact, since 1988. So, but that's just part of my whole picture of my ufological studies.
Yes, and of course, the last time you were here, Norio, we sort of went over Area 51 and the alleged secret base in Dulce, New Mexico, as well as cattle mutilations. And I thought we could sort of go through all of that in a moment here. But of course, yet again, I do want to welcome you back to the program. Always an honor and pleasure to speak to you here. And what I like about you, Norio, is that you are a realist. You're not someone who wants to pander to any specific agenda. You are quite genuine with the things you talk about, Norio.
No question about it, because I consider myself a realist. In other words, I always put my 2 feet on the ground when I talk about all of this fascinating subjects. And, even talking about Area 51 and the alleged base in Dulce, New Mexico, I have to really be a realist. And recently, I was very, very, surprised at the ludicrous nature of the recent fiasco called Storm Area 51.
Oh, boy.
And that was a big fiasco as far as I was concerned. And it was a total disgrace, I believe, in the whole connection of Area 51, as a serious research subject. But I'm glad it ended up in a fiasco in one way, because it brought out some of the American people's fascination about the cultic nature of this topic. In other words, this Storm Area 51 began as a joke, or rather a series of memes. But to me, memes are part of culture and cultural beliefs. So what this event, terrible, wasteful event called Storm Area 51, was basically an expression of such cult. I call these memes some kind of a cult, and I believe it's a cult of the alien, to be exact. And it's not necessarily a belief about aliens, but it's a cult surrounding the beliefs of aliens.
Yes, that was rather unusual to see, but also it did create quite a buzz. Lots of people were very excited. Lots of people actually thought they were going to break into the facility there, which is just tremendous to think that that would even happen, Norio. But you know how people are. They're quite silly and gullible.
That's right. And, this kind of craziness has been influenced by a lot of people who have been peddling about the, about Area 51. And as far as I'm concerned, Area 51 I believe, is a very important American installation uh, that keeps up with the latest information and technology that's relative to defense interests. So I believe in Area 51. I believe its importance. We support Area 51 as a vital, military research, development, and testing location. But other than that, all these things about alien technology and all these things have been, unfortunately, being promoted by a lot of people that try to, promote their nonsense. And unfortunately, people like Bob Lazar and George Knapp. Now, I like George Knapp as a newscaster,
Sure.
but he has made a secondary career promoting Bob Lazar. And, I like George Knapp as a newscaster, but as I said, he has made a lot of fame. He's only known for bringing Bob Lazar
Bob
up.
Lazar. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like to call him a debonair raconteur, which was a favorite expression used by Mark Jacobson, who wrote a book recently about Bill Cooper.
Correct.
But anyway,
Yes.
that expression debonair raconteur is very interesting because it really means a dashing personality, skilled storyteller. That's a debonair raconteur, and George Knapp fits perfectly.
Yeah, you're right about that, Norio, because a lot of people view him as some sort of authority. And since he jumped on this case for such a long time, since the 90s, he's been the right-hand man of one Bob Lazar. George Knapp has been pushing that for such a long time. And many people just believe the story completely just because Bob Lazar co-signs on that.
Exactly. And this is what's happening in today's ufologies, that so many people are sidetracked by such topic. And this is very interesting because recently a book was published just last week. I think it's called Dreamland, an autobiography written by Bob Lazar himself, and the foreword to this book was written none other than George Knapp, who made a career out of peddling Bob Lazar's story.
Amazing.
And, this is a fascinating book, but there's nothing new in this book. It's the same old, unsubstantiated story. It's good as a story, but there's no substantiation of the veracity of the claims made in this book. So that's what I wanted to point out.
Yes.
That nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since Bob Lazar came out to this world telling about the facility back in 1989. That's when he started this. But from the onset, George Knapp has been the right side man, right side in a person, and always promoted and still continues to promote, even today, the Bob Lazar story. Now, Bob Lazar, I have nothing against him, but, he can say anything he wants to, but
Sure.
The bottom line is it's unsubstantiated. A lot of things he says are unsubstantiated. And
Many.
that's why I like to keep all this in the sidelines.
And Norio, yeah, you're right, but a lot of people should be more outspoken about this and be more curious about what's been going on, especially in the alleged UFO community. But before we jump right back into the juicy stuff, I did want to ask you, how are you and what's been going on out there with you over in the land of the enchanted?
Yes, as you said, yes, I live in the land of enchantment, the great state of New Mexico,
Right.
which is the fifth largest state in the union, with a population of only 2 million in the entire state. And the state that has one of the most advanced technological research being conducted at White Sands Missile Range and Kirtland Air Force Base and so on. And I live in this state with probably the most advanced military technologies, and this is a humongous state, so it's a very convenient state for the U.S. government to test a lot of things, like the latest in the directed energy weapon systems.
Right. And of course, sorry to be quiet there, but my microphone was making all sorts of noise. I hope you didn't hear that.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, good. There was all sorts of popping going on back here. So if anyone heard that, that was the sound of me hitting my microphone with my hand very hard. Just thought I'd clear that up with you there, just in case anyone caught that. But great, I'm glad no one heard that. So excellent, excellent. And also, the last time I checked up what's going on in New Mexico, the legalization of marijuana was also being seriously considered. 33 states have legalized it for medical use, and 11 others have legalized it for recreational use. What exactly is your stance on that, Norio? I know that's a bit of a out of left field there, but I'm curious.
Well, the medical marijuana situation is a very realistic one. It's right now it's legal. The medical marijuana has been legal in New Mexico for quite some time, and so they haven't still passed any legislation for the other type of leisurely use of marijuana. That has not been taken up yet. But as far as medical marijuana issue, it is a real issue here, and it's accepted.
Right on. And of course, not to forget to mention this one here, I'd be remiss, but there is also some weird disappearance of a woman as well who stepped outside of her house. I know you vaguely went over that story, right?
Oh, yes. This, as far as I'm concerned, this has not been solved yet, because one of the local TV stations, news stations, did a story about the sudden disappearance of a lady from her home in northeast Albuquerque. And when the story broke on the local channel news, it was already 3 days that this woman was missing. And what happened was that this lady just walked out the door with no belongings, carrying nothing. And you can see actually the security, the camera footage of this lady walking out the door. And so this became a very, very noticeable news here in Albuquerque. And so far, nobody has seen this lady. And so it's a fascinating thing.
Maybe she got abducted.
Well,
never know.
It's possible physically she could have been abducted, by humans.
By man or ET. You never know.
Yes, but anyway, I think I'm still trying to, I like to keep updated with any developments.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. Lots of
The husband is really asking for public's help.
Yeah, that's terrible. Anytime someone goes missing, that's pretty dark times, and we will be getting into some dark matters as of right now. And there was another thing I did want to get into in terms of To the Stars Academy. And I know you've talked about this as well. They were making a big fuss out of one of the most recent findings they had in terms of these exotic materials they had. And they acquired them from, I believe it was Art Bell.
Yes, I believe that's one of the stories. There are several stories that have to do with the To the Stars Academy. and the alleged discovery or handling of some weird materials. But see, all these things that the To the Stars Academy takes up are actually based on not any tangible evidence, but it's just I would say it's almost meaningless because it's not really reality as far as I'm concerned. Even the idea about the uh, To the Stars Academy, which is owned by Tom DeLonge, and this organization seems to be interested in propagating unsubstantiated information regarding things like the U.S. Navy's recent topic involving the Tic Tac UFOs and David Fravor and all these this kind of thing. So until something tangible comes up, everything is simply speculation. And this is the reason why I am so glad that the United States Navy itself has corrected a lot of things. For example, it has recently corrected the terminology. Instead of saying UFOs, the United States Navy has recently come up with a better description of this phenomenon. In other words, they like to use the word UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Right.
rather than UFOs. So this is very important because when one talks about UFOs, one immediately connects this terminology with the extraterrestrial flying objects, which is not really proven even by the Navy standards, because the Navy like to use the word UAP. And I agree 100% with the Navy's use of UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, rather than UFO.
Right. And by the way, Norio, in the chat room right now, I do have the photograph that you put up on your personal Facebook page, and I think even your blog press website. I'm not quite sure, but it's the photograph of how this piece of material came into the hands of To the Stars Academy. Yes, the metamaterials, as they call them.
We'll just have to wait and see until something solid and tangible comes up. That's what I always say. Because as far as I'm concerned, we have not yet had any concrete, credible, and documentary proof whatsoever that we have ever been visited by physical extraterrestrial biological entities coming over to our planet in any kind of physical extraterrestrial spacecraft of any kind. This is the bottom line. But yet, the phenomenon itself seems to be real. As I've been telling people for many years, I firmly believe in the existence of UFO phenomena, or better yet, unidentified aerial phenomena. But this word, the UFOs, is misleading because we're still not sure if we're talking about flying objects. We're not even sure they are solid objects, and we're not even sure about the word flying, just like Dr. Jacques Vallée had mentioned years ago. And I firmly believe in Dr. Jacques Vallée's evaluation or the thinking, because he said that UFOs may not necessarily be objects, nor could they be flying in the sense of the word flying as we know it.
Yes, and for the record, just for those out there who are new in attendance, you definitely do believe in, obviously, UFOs and extraterrestrials, correct?
That's right. But this all depends on the definition of what is extraterrestrial, because anything that is beyond our Earth is extraterrestrial, and that includes uh, possible extra dimensional phenomenon.
Yes, and to be perfectly honest with everyone out there, I certainly do want to believe. That's why I want to hit this music right here. I do want to believe, Norio. But of course, all these stories outweigh the evidence, unfortunately.
That's right. We can talk and talk and talk about mysterious items, and there are mysterious phenomenon in this on this earth. No question
Absolutely, yeah,
about it. I mean,
absolutely.
this world is filled with mysteries, and anybody that says that there's nothing strange about anything about this world is just out of their mind, because we're limited in our knowledge, and we must accept that there are some unexplainable things in this world and in our existence. So, but yet to come to a definitive conclusion that we're talking about actual physical extraterrestrial visitation to our Earth, that is really not realistic as far as I'm concerned.
Not at all. Not at all. The rise of ufology, again, seems to repeat itself. We had that back in the early day, and now we have that today in 2019, almost 2020. And it seems like for the last 10 years, Norio, I'm not sure if you would agree with me or not, but it seems like the History Channel and the show Ancient Aliens, they've been a big part of that, gaining that sort of popularity in the field of ufology, bringing it to the masses. It's kept it alive.
Exactly. You said it right on the spot. You said it right, because programs like Ancient Aliens have actually brainwashed a lot of people.
Who's
Of course,
behind that, right? Though Norio, that company.
I am not familiar.
Well, I'll just leave it at this. Lots of them are Scientologists.
It's very possible. It's very possible.
Lots of them are actually.
Because programs like Ancient Aliens and all the related UFO programs, as handled by the History Channel, is really to unidirectionally brainwash the population into accepting certain beliefs in physical aliens. And I'm very, very, of course, a lot of people take the History Channel with a grain of salt, which we should, like programs like Ancient Aliens and so on, because it's not based on facts, but it's based on simply on speculation mostly. And this is the danger that I see in contemporary ufology, because the contemporary ufology is only leaning to one direction, that is propagation of belief in physical aliens visiting us in the physical spacecraft. There's absolutely there's no proof of this. And just like Dr. Jacques Vallée and people like John A. Keel had said many years ago, that this is a deceptive type of a situation, a deceptive propagation of such beliefs to affect possibly our society in general, for some strange reason or other, for some kind of a future event.
And I think we can both agree, Norio, that throughout history, man has witnessed these strange anomalies in the sky, and they've struggled to explain exactly what those objects in the sky were. You can go back to early century artwork, and of course, even going back to the Bible. And see, this is where it mixes in together here, and we'll bring it full circle. Of course, you have Ezekiel's wheel. Lots of people think that was a UFO of sorts. And then, of course, you have Eric von Daniken, who mixes the sort of ancient astronaut theory and religion, and that's where you have these cults that you're referring to, correct?
Exactly. That's what I'm referring to. Yes, because this phenomenon, as Dr. Jacques Vallée has stated, seemed to have existed since time immemorial. Since time immemorial, people have seen strange things in the sky, and but the interesting thing is that this phenomenon seemed to adapt itself to the technology or the understanding of technological, knowledge of that epoch, of whatever epoch these things have appeared. People have seen flying shields type of objects, during the Middle Ages, but then in the modern day times, people have seen the dirigibles in the 1800s that appeared to look like, like airships. And then, of course, in modern day times, the phenomenon have appeared to be like more aerodynamic shapes, like the saucer shapes, especially after World War II. And then, of course, in the 1980s, this phenomenon seemed to have appeared many times, taking the form of a humongous triangular aircraft that's like a mile wide, or humongous. And so it seems to me that this phenomenon seemed to adapt or to impress the people of any epoch that corresponds with the technological understanding of each era.
Yes, I agree with you full-heartedly on that one. And of course, Norio, I do want to mention again, I've always enjoyed our discussions here. I like that you are a straight shooter and you are down to earth, Norio. You're not like one of the many people that I would find walking around at one of the many UFO conferences who are just a little bit out of their minds.
Yes, because, basically the UFO conferences and all these things are basically for entertainment. Right. And, there are people who make careers out of, giving lectures, all the time, and joining the UFO lecture circuits and all that. They're making a career out of it. And, once you start doing that, you can't stop it. And this is the reason why I'm telling people that we have to watch out for imposters and fraudsters and hoaxsters, and there are many in this strange field. And some of these hoaxsters are really dangerous in the sense that they can affect a person. They can brainwash a person. One good example of this happened right here in New Mexico in 1980, in which a known fraudster, Richard C. Doty, who did work for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations here at the Kirtland Air Force Base, he got together with another self-claimed disinformant, William Moore, in 1980. In 1980, William Moore came to New Mexico, to Kirtland Air Force Base, and started another project together with Richard C. Doty, and that project was to defuse the MJ12 story.
Right.
It was Richard C. Doty who was the main originator of the MJ2 documents, along with William Moore. And in 1980, when William Moore came to New Mexico, it was around the time that of his publication of his book called Incident at Roswell. This book that came out in 1980 actually brought out to the public the Roswell story. And, when he wrote that book, the very same year he came to Kirtland Air Force Base and got together with Richard C. Doty to go over another project, and which I just told you was the project about uh, the Dulce story and MJ12 stories. These are really, there's nothing to these stories except they are just stories.
Yeah, it's just stories. And to be honest with you, Norio, I like a good story. I'm guilty of that. I have this show here and I hear so many different stories all the time and I love them. But of course, there's many times where I don't necessarily believe that guest and what they're saying.
Yes, I know, because these stories are interesting, and in fact, it's entertaining.
Sure.
So a lot of people go for it, and but we have to be very careful. And careful researchers don't get involved in a propagation of such nonsense.
Well, those are real carnies at these conferences, by the way.
Exactly, and you know people that go to these conferences or speak in these conferences constantly are doing that. I believe some of them knowingly, uh, knowing that they are not real.
Oh,
They
of
have to
course.
do it.
Yeah.
They have to do it. And of course, it's not a big money. You don't make any money by becoming a ufologist, unless the only way to do is to constantly go to these
Talk circuit.
conferences, and there are even some cruises that
Oh, the cruises, yes.
yes, the cruises with the stars of ufology.
Have you ever gone on a cruise, Norio?
Several $1,000s go to these cruises on the ship, and all you get is the same old nonsense presented by these charlatans of ufology. And so I try to stay away from those conferences, and I have no intention of joining this circus. I call it the circus, of ufology. That's
No,
what I
you're
call
right.
it.
Yeah, I like that. No, you're right though. There's nothing about these talk circuit conferences for the ufology crowd. There's nothing scientific, rather, about these conferences. And I'll even add furthermore to this. If you can't demonstrate or prove something, then why would you even believe these things? Why would you even try to validate these claims if you can't prove or demonstrate something?
That's right. And the biggest complaint I have against those participants in this kind of ufological circus and lecture circuits is that it seems to be that they are only pushing the physical alien presence idea and not other ideas. Almost 90% of those who talk about UFOs are only presenting unidirectional interpretation of the origin of UFO phenomena. Then they always promote the physical aliens and physical UFOs, and they are limited to that interpretation. And those who promote the possible extra-dimensional origins of these phenomena are not that popular.
And you're right about that. They're not that popular.
And this is the reason why people like Dr. Jacques Vallée, who I consider to be one of the top researchers in the world, people like Dr. Jacques Vallée do not really appear that much in this kind of ufological circus, which I call, because Dr. Jacques Vallée says that the extraterrestrial hypothesis is probably the least realistic of all the hypotheses. And that's not really popular among those who believe in alien story and those who believe in the Roswell alien crash and all these kind of nonsense.
Yes, it's again these stories are very sexy, and that's why we're so drawn to them. We like knowing about these mysterious things of the past and future and present. But again, the stories always outweigh the evidence. That's the bad part.
Exactly. You said it right.
Makes me sad.
It is a sad situation, and you know, there are those people who are tremendously skilled in presenting something that is not real. They are very dexterous in convincing people by their stories. And as I said in the beginning, I like people like George Knapp. I think he's a great newscaster.
Yeah,
but
right.
He just fell entrapped with this Bob Lazar story. And once you associate with somebody, you have to live with it the rest of your life. And you can't suddenly come out and say, oh, I was wrong. Bob Lazar was just not true and blah, blah, blah. No, you can't do that because George Knapp had already established himself as a credible presenter and researcher even. And so he can't just suddenly disassociate himself with Bob Lazar, who
right.
I said is maybe a great person, but there's nothing that can be substantiated about Bob Lazar. And now Bob Lazar and George Knapp seem like they're promoting, along with the To the Stars Academy. They are all promoting the Bob Lazar story, just like Jeremy Corbell did by peddling the Bob Lazar video. And, this is a sad situation as far as I'm concerned.
It really is. It is a sad situation. And another thing I do want to note out there, those out there who are into a lot of these subjects, the scientific method is completely void from their psyche, Norio.
No question about it. You said before that MUFON especially has really turned itself into more of I don't know what supernatural type organization, not a scientific oriented organization, and only promoting such things as the alien abductions and all that non-tangent topics. And of course this phenomenon such as alien abductions and so on is a fascinating topic, but unfortunately there's no solid scientific proof of such a thing. And but yet people flock to these conferences and believe that people like Travis Walton is telling this experience and so on, and which may be a real experience to the experiencer, but it's not proven that it was associated with any of the realities that we know of.
Absolutely.
It may have been real to the person, but not real to most of the world, the physical world.
Yes, you also have to take into consideration many of these individuals out there maybe are on medication or have some sort of a mental illness going on as well, even though that does sound insulting. But if you look at the pattern of these individuals and you actually had their medical records actually pulled up, I'm pretty sure many of them were under heavy medication, Norio.
Well, that's I think that's a good point. But even without this kind of medication, there are people in this world who are affected by something, by some force that makes them tell things that are not true for some kind of a deceptive purpose. And one, for example, is former defense minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer.
Yes, he's been on the program.
Yes, because no matter how interesting his background was, you have to remember one thing, that Paul Hellyer had no interest in UFOs until he retired. And he, after he retired, many, many years later, he began reading a lot of books about UFOs. And finally, he seemed like he was convinced that UFO phenomenon is real. And then he started saying nonsensical statements like, if you go to Las Vegas, maybe aliens might be dressed as nuns.
Oh, my.
Yes, that's what he said, definitely. And so, there's a thing about credibility. There's no credibility among these people, even people like former defense minister of Canada that he claimed he was, and he was actually. But
tremendous.
It's just because you are a military general or a former defense minister or a military pilot or an astronaut. There's no wall between a crackpot. Any of these persons can be crackpots. An astronaut can also be a crackpot in one aspect of his life. So this is what I mean. Just because one is highly credible doesn't mean that his story is foolproof.
Yes, and the mistake many people out there do, people tend to make this mistake all the time. Once they hear someone make one fact or they get one claim right, automatically everything they say is a fact to that individual.
Exactly.
It's strange, right?
This is the reason why, and I don't like to talk about people, but people like Linda Howe. She started with cattle mutilations. And,
absolutely, yeah.
Once you start some kind of a specialized subject, the world recognized her as a specialist in cattle mutilations. And once you are associated with that, then it's very difficult to come up with other explanations. So any cattle mutilation, Linda Howe began to associate with aliens. And so that's the downfall of people like that, because, you don't want to suddenly disassociate yourself with your specialized topic. And so this is what happened. And, unfortunately, people have been realizing this. And I'm glad that people like Linda Howe is not associated anymore with the Coast to Coast program because,
Oh, wait, tell me about that. What happened?
Well, she's no longer associated.
She isn't.
No. I believe that there's a lot of things coming out and, people can see the folly of some of these folks that are associated with ufology. And, it's just that, I don't want to use the word, but a lot of these people who go on lecture circuits are nothing more than the BS artists. And they're skilled in that. But, all of this doesn't mean that this UFO phenomenon is not real. In fact, I said time and time after again that I believe definitely that the UFO phenomenon itself seemed to be real, no question about it. But to come up with that explanation that this is an extraterrestrial phenomenon and no other phenomenon is just folly. And, that's my position.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's my position. And so I'm often being described nowadays as a debunker, but I'm not a debunker. In fact, I am a supporter of the research into this very important topic, because there's no topic in this world more important than this UFO phenomenon.
I agree with you. And on that note, we are joined by another special guest, Norio. One, Michael Horn, I believe, is on the line. Michael, is that you?
I think it's me. How are you, Michael?
I'm fantastic. And if you have the show on in the background, please turn it down.
I don't. I'm on my cell phone only.
That's what it was.
If necessary, I can try Skype again. Are you getting me okay, clear enough, or no?
I'm hearing you loud and clear, and I'm glad you're here. We were talking about many UFO cases and all sorts of different subjects. And by the way, Norio brought up the fire in the sky incident with Travis Walton. And just recently this week, I had on Dr. Michael Shermer, and of course, he talked about Travis Walton, and he claimed that he was a liar, and he also didn't get whatever test he took correct. I think he took some sort of lie detector test. Oh, okay, you heard that.
I did, and I also want to say that I've caught about 15 minutes of Norio, and I'd say I'm about 90% in agreement with him, because I think he's regarding a lot of this in the proper way. I have a 10% disagreement with him, that one that I actually think he will enjoy looking into. We did exchange one email earlier today, and with Travis Walton, I represent what I consider to be the only authentic, real UFO contact case. And I also understand that, in Norio's, cosmology does not include the idea that there are real, biological beings, human beings in this case, actually occupying craft and contacting people. That being said, and of course I'm glad to go into that, but
sure.
I met Travis Walton some years ago, and I felt the same way partially that Michael Shermer did. And what I felt was that Travis Walton seemed to be a sincere guy who really, believed everything he was saying, that he was, feeling like it was all very true, et cetera. I don't know about it. I don't have a strong opinion. That I would doubt it, that it's true, but I didn't feel that Travis Walton was a deliberate deceiver. And if he is, then he's, very good at that.
Amazing. And Norio, what's your take on Travis Walton and the claims he's made in the past?
Well, I've said many, many times before that I believe that the so-called alien abduction phenomenon may be real to the experiencer, but we don't know for sure what reality is. And until we know for sure what reality really is, we cannot debunk any personal claims, because his reality may be different from my reality, and he may
Very
have
true.
experienced exactly what he said was a real experience, but I'm not him, so I can't go into his soul or into his being and experience the same thing. So I cannot say, and I refuse to say, that he was telling a lie, because we don't know what the reality really is in each person.
I agree with you on that one. We don't see life through anyone else's eyes other than our own. So what he experienced or what he saw maybe happened in his mind or in front of him. Who knows, right?
That's right. It may be an experience that we don't know how for sure. Because in this world there could be a lot of experience going on in another level of reality, and we have to understand that reality is not just one. There could be many levels of reality. So but basically, without any solid physical proof of these kind of experiences, we can't really make too many comments. And people say that they have seen chips, microchips, in the body of those experiences, but there's no hard, tangible evidence to say that these chips were of extraterrestrial origin or anything like that. So I like to refrain from going into this the topic, because it's interesting, no question about it. It's part of human beings to experience something that only that person can experience.
I take it you are referring to Roger Lear, by the way.
Well, I'm referring to most of these people who claim that they have found some tiny microchips and all these kind of things, but to me, it doesn't mean a thing. But because the bulk of the world's astronomers and scientists and engineers, while they have a tremendous belief in the possibility that physical extraterrestrial entities with high technological development may exist in this universe, but the vast majority of the world's reputable astronomers, scientists, and engineers are skeptical that we have ever been visited by physical extraterrestrial entities in physical extraterrestrial craft of any kind. The bottom line.
This is where I'd love to jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Norio, also, first of all, I happen to agree with what Norio is saying as well about the implants and all of that. We must now, in my opinion, take a very different tact in this discussion. While Norio has been very firm in stating that he does not think there's any evidence of it, what I must, and I've been trying to do this, of course, for some time, and not necessarily just on this show, but generally, here is a statement, and I can substantiate it. The Billy Meier contacts in Switzerland have been ongoing for 77 years and have an abundance of independently analyzed and authenticated physical and informational evidence, and the most recent authentication of the Meier case being a genuine contact case came from an investigation done by the former, one of the top USAF OSI investigators who spent, as I said, 8 months as a skeptic going over Meier's evidence, and he went back to 1964. Now, rather than just launching into all that, so what I'm stating to you clearly, Meier has taken over 1,200 photos, films, and video, all pre-digital era, pre-Photoshop, using standard cameras that are not digital, capacity cameras. He has metal samples, not this nonsense from the TTSA, which is a disinformation organization that is virtually loaded to the gills. They have a front man who's a dopey rock and roll singer, and everybody else in that organization is a quote-unquote former intelligence operative of some form, CIA or Navy. This is a nonsense organization, but let's get back. We also have sound recordings made on 4 different occasions in an open field with 17 eyewitnesses that have been analyzed at 4 different sound laboratories, including the Naval Undersea Laboratory. There are over 45,000 pages of information transcribed by Meier himself with one hand in German. I have made it my focus since 1988 to document the verifiably copyrighted, published scientific information that Meier made available anywhere from a few months to more than 60 years before we discovered it. It's ironclad. The independent USAF OSI investigator went farther. He said the Billy Meier case is 100% authentic. It is ironclad, and he, as a military man, will take on any skeptics. And he did. He took on Kevin Randle and a skeptic from India. He basically got rid of them because they can't think. The UFO field itself is the least scientific. It is the most bogus collection of charlatans and fakers and liars, and that includes the Bob Lazars and Jeremy Corbett, all the rest of the people, none of whom, as Norio has pointed out, this is why I'm jumping up and down here to listen to, because none of them have been able to produce one piece of evidence to substantiate their crazy claims. This is an industry. It is primarily serving intelligence agencies to put out disinformation about all sorts of non-existent aliens, non-existent alien abductions. And the main thing, and this is where I'm sure people will disagree, it is to keep people from examining the Meier material. Now, we had a breakthrough about a week and a half ago during a 2-week period. 2 parts of an interview with me about asteroid Apophis were published in a paper in Great Britain. It's called The Express. It's what they call a middle market paper, that partial tabloid, partial entertainment, and news. They did they've already published 2 of the parts of the interview with me. We think there's maybe 4 more parts coming. Here's the point. As Norio and you may know, NASA claims to have discovered asteroid Apophis in 2004.
Right.
Except that we can verify that Billy Meier published the information in 1981. And he continued to publish the information, which included the exact dates, now that NASA has confirmed those dates. The size of it, NASA changed their size estimate to within 25 meters of what Meier said. And more importantly, the information from Meier, also in the body of his information, he published from the alleged extraterrestrials that the value that we have for the numerical value of pi is incorrect. And in order to do effective things such as deflect this asteroid, which is what was recommended by these extraterrestrials in 1981, and which now the Russians, the European Space Agency, the Chinese, and even NASA has now started to talk about it, they will need the correct value for pi. It has been corrected by a mathematician in Idaho. All of this stuff is connected because nobody ever says if there really are extraterrestrials who visit or have visited this world or made contact, what would the reason be? Why would an advanced race, certainly not to float somebody through a wall and take their inferior genetics? That's out. The abduction thing, if it exists, when it exists, is secret military. So that's nonsense, and that's not the reason. And the reason isn't to give people careers as so-called UFO experts, and the reason isn't to have people run around for MUFON chasing lights in the sky, which is done to support research that is forwarded to the State Department and the CIA that we know through people who are in the aerospace industry who've been approached by MUFON. This whole conversation must take a different direction, and it should take the direction of a challenge to what I'm saying to prove the singular authenticity of the information and evidence-rich Meier contacts with one man in Switzerland, to which there are well over 125 eyewitnesses, of which I am one, and 5 other photographers. And we have on the team of people examining this aerospace experts, attorneys. The man who is the military expert has jumped back in to do a definitive military investigation of the entire case. This is a different conversation, gentlemen. We cannot. Ufology is a dead, stupid issue. Pardon me. And I don't consider that we're part of ufology. I am not, and Billy Meier isn't. But if I'm saying these things to you tonight, then I want the challenge. I want to. That's why I've said to you, Michael, I would love you to arrange for Michael Shermer, somebody I first encountered 16 years ago who was very dismissive of Meier's photos but could not substantiate it, somebody who I consider to be a person of actually good character and integrity who's uninformed and who needs to see the evidence. I think, Norio, you, Michael Shermer, if you see this evidence and if you see the protocols that the military expert used to determine that the Meier contacts, his photographic evidence that's real, and you do those protocols, you will come out with the same determination. And then all the rest of it. The reason for the Meier case, the Meier contacts, has a lot to do with what we now call climate change. It's more accurate, climate destruction. It has to do with the volcano specifically in the region in the Mediterranean, in Italy, another one of which erupted today as per the prophecies and predictions dating back to 1948 in the Meier case. We have to this date corroborated over 250 specific error-free examples of information, scientific, pertaining to astronomy, physics, to archaeology, biology, you name it. And this information has been conveyed in a conversational means, and I and others have spent 30, 40 years charting this. Now, I've taken a lot of time to say that, but I want the challenge. Rather, Michael, you've expressed you don't think there's evidence. I'm telling you the evidence is so abundant, and that's why we have a phony ufology field to cover it up.
Understood. And I will try my best to try to get a hold of Dr. Michael Shermer and let him know that this sort of thing needs to go down. And Nouriel, do you have any response to what Michael Horn just told us right now?
Well, actually, I was interested in the Billy Meyer case because a Japanese TV producer, Junichi Yaoi, spent months in Switzerland, and he produced a series of documentaries on the Billy Meyer case. I mean, extensive, very extensive. I think it was in the early 70s. But anyway, he came up with no definitive conclusion because while he could not come up with any solid evidence to support the Billy Meyer case, he also did not come up with any evidence contrary to the claim of Billy Meyer. So my position is I can't make any commentary, no matter how interesting a case is, but I am not going to debunk such claims because, as I said, these things may have been part of the reality of the Billy Meyer and its surroundings, because I cannot go into the Billy Meyer's mind. So this is the reason why it's a fascinating topic, no question. It involves it's not a question of yes or no. It's a question of a mystery. This is one of the mysteries of the world that we still don't understand. So I'm not going to say that this is just a hoax, because there are a lot of people who immediately claim that the Billy Meyer thing was a hoax. But it's dangerous to, come up with that kind of a statement, dogmatic statement. So
understood.
I will just leave it up because only time will tell. Only time will tell.
Understood. And
well, actually,
go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, actually, I want to sharpen this up a little more with Nouriel. This is not something where we, in the same way that all of the people who are the liars and frauds in ufology, and that includes practically everybody out there speaking, cannot produce the evidence. The evidence has not only been presented, if you will, by Meyer, it's been analyzed at JPL, USGS, McDonnell Douglas, IBM. This is not a subjective experience. This isn't somebody's mind we're talking about. This is something that has the evidence, the thing missing, and it has already been thoroughly. As a matter of fact, Junichi said there were no cuts in the films. These were real objects, blah, blah, blah. But more importantly, even than that, the man who was the special effects director for 2001, a man named Wally Gentleman, was asked if he could duplicate Meyer's very famous photo with the craft going around a tree. He said, well, I can do that, but I need a crew of 15 people. I need a crane, wires, and about $80,000 back in 1980. And then he said, so if you're telling me that this is a one-armed man who did this without all of that, then I have to say to you, this is a real phenomenon. That is the same thing that basically Michael Malin, who invented the Mars Orbiter camera, said. I'm looking at photos of a real phenomenon. The photos look good. I can't tell you anything about a man's claims to be meeting with people from another world, but his photos look good. Then I personally, 13 years ago, went to the company called Uncharted Territory. They won the Academy Award for Independence Day special effects. They know special effects. I showed them the same film that had been shown to Wally Gentleman. I said, can you duplicate this? And they said, well, we can, but we have to use CG because those aren't models. Both of these special effects people referred to the fact that the lighting was right for an object, that the shadows, that there was nothing indicating models, special effects, and all of that. And again, the UFO part is the least important part. I'm coming back to the scientific information. The internationally recognized standard for proof of first publication is a copyright. We have volumes of specific information. Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, the fact that Io is the most volcanically active body in the solar system, published by Billy Meier 5 months before the Voyager probe got there. This is another discussion, folks. This is not subjective. So it's either the biggest, most impenetrable, and longest-running hoax conducted by a one-armed man who somehow has a mastery of photography, special effects, filmmaking, videography, electronics, metallurgy, and the list goes on, or it is the single most important real and true story in human history and science. I won't let go of the idea that Norio, who is intelligent and sees things, as far as I'm concerned, very clearly, whether he agrees in this conversation that it's even possible. I'm offering right now, I will, if Norio permits it, I will send him the voluminous reports and all the rest on evidence. What, in our real world, we are taking as truth, history that goes back maybe even 80 years or more, for which none of us can prove the factuality. We can't prove the details. We can only say something happened and it's said to be this. Go back 100, 1,000 years, 10,000, and it's all speculative. This is not speculative. We have the evidence. We have the facts. And this is why, to the Stars Academy, has used Meier's photos without attribution and will not acknowledge it. This is why Tom DeLonge won't respond to emails about it. And this is why every one of the rest of the so-called UFO experts have been sent the information and the evidence, and not a one of them will speak up, because it will kill their careers for people to just look at the Meier material and determine the truth for themselves.
So you definitely have submitted all the evidence and whatever else to the Stars Academy, and they've not responded to you at all.
Of course not.
Wow.
Neither did Jeremy Corbell when he set up a thing online saying, send me information or evidence about UFOs. Bob Lazar in 1987, in an interview with George Knapp, and I have this online, he talked about the Billy Meier context. Now, how is it a guy supposedly in government, military, space development, secret technology, talks about knowing about Billy Meier, says nothing more about it for 30, 40 years, whatever it is, and goes on to describe and be associated with a UFO, quote unquote, the sports model that is a ripoff of a Billy Meier UFO photo. This, if people do not understand what's being done here, when Christopher Mellon came out, what was it, 4 or 6 weeks ago, and Christopher Mellon of the Mellon banking family was a former U.S. assistant deputy at the Pentagon for intelligence and security. He came out and said, we know UFOs are real. We don't know where they come from. We don't yet understand their technology. Then, of course, the Navy with their silly little, Pac-Man video saying, well, UFOs are real. Folks, there's no reason that suddenly intelligence agency-laden organizations are going to come out and tell you that UFOs are real, except if they have an agenda.
Yeah, hold on, Michael, really quickly. Norio, yes. What's your take on that, on the military or Navy rather, changing up some of their guidelines, and just in general, the footage that Michael Horn is talking about, the Tic Tac UFO? I'm thinking this video doesn't really prove that's anything really, except maybe just some object that we don't know much about. It doesn't prove that ET exists whatsoever.
It doesn't prove that at all. In fact, the Navy has stated that this is no proof of anything alien. So that's why they decided to discontinue the use of UFOs, the word UFOs. And they reverted back to the unidentified aerial phenomenon, which I think is the right word. Because, we just don't know if this involves any solid object or not, or could have the capacity to appear as solid objects, and could have the capacity to impress people that these things are flying, as if using some kind of propulsion system. So, this is the it's still up in the limbo. And so anybody that says we're talking about UFOs as extraterrestrial physical craft in association with the so-called Tic Tac UFOs photos is just, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yes,
but I've said many times before,
right,
a strong supporter of the existence of the phenomenon known as unidentified aerial phenomenon, whether or not they are from another world or not. That's to me is a speculation, and we're all hung up with terminology. So I like to just work with the terminology that I'm used to, and not jump into any other off tangent views of things like this.
Yes, and now they are also in bed with the Army.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't disagree with Norio on that whole thing with the Navy, because if you read what TTSA was saying, and you read what Christopher Mellon was saying, and they're talking about threat assessment. They're talking about the violation of our security, et cetera. This is a setup, gentlemen. This is a setup for a fake ET attack, or for developing the Space Command to supposedly combat a potential extraterrestrial enemy. It's not anything of the sort. They know there's no threat, but because they're ramping up militarism in our government and pushing for a war with Russia, there are all sorts of things at play, and the UFO topic goes into it nicely, because development is and has been for a long time under development at different bases. There's no extraterrestrials involved in it. They're not helping. There's no extraterrestrials certainly helping our government, working at these places. But this is a setup, and a person like Tom DeLonge is a willing patsy and probably unknowing. People like Lou Elizondo and the others involved, Christopher Mellon, they are doing the bidding of the intelligence services. This has nothing to do with any real evidence for extraterrestrial UFOs. But again, I'll say we have it. I'm going to, if Norio wants, I will present to him that which he has never seen. And then he can determine for himself if the conversation and the paradigm has shifted. Because for us to talk about whether it's an IAP or a UFO, at this point, unless we can thoroughly and credibly dismiss the existence of an actual otherworldly entity, society that's coming here, or we can unequivocally establish that there is another presence that has made itself known, and I'm speaking in this case solely about the Meyer evidence, then we would have reason to march forward. But if we just keep on talking about UFOs and so-called paranormal stuff, it's entertainment, and it doesn't get us anywhere. The real problems facing us are connected to this phenomenon.
And I agree with you on that one. And of course, I forgot to mention that Tom also had gone to social media and made, I guess it was either on Instagram or Twitter or somewhere, where he said that he was briefed by an Italian intelligence that a UFO shot a military helicopter out of the sky. And of course, they were going to talk about that on the TV show Unidentified on the History Channel. Once again, the History Channel. Norio.
To create fear.
Once again, yes, you said it. The History Channel, which is just helping brainwash the large segment of the population for some reason or other. They want us to go into a paradigm type of a shift in our thinking. And so our History Channel and other forces are doing their job right now.
Yes, and I'm sorry to change the subject very so slightly here, but just a little bit. I wanted to go back to what Dr. Michael Shermer said in terms of the Travis Walton abduction. I have audio of that. Michael, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it or not, but Norio, I believe you will, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to play that clip right now. And Michael, if you can hear it, just remain cool and listen through.
Okay.
All right, hold on. I have interviewed a man by the name of Mike Rogers multiple times, and he, of course, was the driver and witness to the Travis Walton abduction, and they also made the film A Fire in the Sky based on this sort of event. I'm sure you've seen the film or heard of it a number of times, yes.
Yeah, I know. I've met Travis Walton. He came to my office actually one day for filming for a TV show.
Oh, interesting.
And I was on another set with him where it was one of these reality shows on the lie detector. So one of the episodes was they gave him a lie detector. And he volunteered to do it. He thought he'd pass. And at the end of the show, he ended up failing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
I think he made it up. I think this is what we think the UFO people think. I mean, UFO skeptics think he was late to finish his job and he just concocted the story. And it was probably not meant to be a big public thing. It was probably just, just to get out of this job problem he was having. But then it took off, and then he had to live the lie. I mean, I hate to call him a liar. I don't know for sure, but that's what I think. He asked me my opinion. I think he made it up.
And that was Michael Shermer and what he thought.
I remember hearing that. I caught that part of your interview with him. But again, I have to say that it's unimportant, because whether Travis Walton is telling the truth or lying, A, he can't prove it, and B, it has no value, no real value. This is where, I'm already, I like to refer to it as persona au gratin in the so-called alternative UFA world.
Love that.
But I'm not going to let go of it, because we have the evidence. We've had it for a long time. And now that our military friend has stepped in to say he is going to now jump into the entire case and all of the stuff in it and do a military quality investigation, the rest of this is irrelevant. What could Travis Walton, let's just say for a moment, Travis Walton is abducted by aliens. So what? What does it do? We have no evidence,
right?
And there's no value to it. There's zero value except for entertainment. And I want to see the damn UFO field basically blown out of the water. It's a useless distraction. People are, Norio's talking about how people are misled by all of this. There's another company called Gaia, G-A-I-A.
Gaia, yes.
Right, and they are the ones that have promoted Corey Good and David Wilcock with their utterly imaginary disinformation programs about so-called blue aliens and the rest. This is what's going on corporately with History Channel or this one and that one and Gaia. This is to control people's thinking, to get them all tied up in disinfo and entertainment and not notice what's happening to their lives, what's happening economically, what's happening environmentally. And all of the aforementioned has been part of the core purpose for Myers Information. Ooh. He's the first person to be warning about climate change, man-made climate change, global warming, the connection between A-bombs, explosions and the ozone damage, the extraction of petroleum, imbalancing the tectonic plates, and hundreds of other things. But who would know it? We're concerning ourselves with nonsense about Tom DeLonge and Travis Walton and the rest of the people who are just, I think Norio used the word, they're charlatans.
It's not going to prove anything. You're right.
My final comment is this, though, that anyone that says that one particular case is the only authentic case or the only truth is, to me, it could develop into a cult. In other words,
unless of course it's true. Unless it's true, Norio.
I have not seen any single particular case that I'm convinced of yet. Not even one single case, of course. But I have to be open about all these things. But anybody that says this case is the only authentic case, there's a tendency for that kind of a belief to become like a religion. And that's the danger of ufology in general, is that there are some folks who believe that they have the whole truth, 100%. So in my opinion, is that there's nobody who has 100% truth. And so that's why we have to be very careful.
You're going to be presented with the proof. And here's the thing. If you walk down the street at night and you see a flame in a basement of someone's home, and it's something appears to you to be burning, should you say, well, that can't be a fire, or it's a fire and that appears to be factual, and I'm going to knock on the door. I'm going to knock hard on the door and let the people inside determine whether or not it's a fire. So I don't think necessarily, I don't know that Norio has seen any of my 4 documentaries. I don't think Norio has seen the evaluations, the independent analyses of photographs, films, metal samples, sound recordings, the military analysis, or the do-it-yourself thing where we show you can take one of Meyer's photos yourself now that we have Photoshop, and a nighttime object that it looks like a gold UFO in a black background, you simply adjust Photoshop and you see that this 31-year-old, 35 millimeter photograph is actually a large object hovering over a road at night with a hillside and all the rest. So I understand what Norio is saying. I understand if you haven't seen it, it sounds ridiculous and cultic. Mr. Meyer has dodged assassins 23 times for his trouble. They've tried to kidnap his children at knife point. I've interviewed 14 people who witnessed attempts on his life. And you don't hear about the Meyer case. You don't find these people rushing forward because the evidence is there. And what I'll do is, I'm saying publicly, I will send to Norio a plethora here of evidence with it's all credentialed stuff, and then any questions he has, and perhaps we'll be able to revisit this with you, Michael, after Norio. If he chooses to look at the stuff, pose any challenges to me, I will answer any and everything I can, and then we could discuss whether or not it's an outrageous claim to say there's a singularly authentic case. For one more reason, neither Norio nor I nor you can say we know of another authentic case where there's no evidence. So if I'm making this outrageous claim, you better believe that I can substantiate it and have substantiated it now for a few decades. And I think that Norio is going to be pleasantly surprised that he finally gets to see something that will give him a little exercise.
By the way, Michael, you didn't acquire these medals from Art Bell now, did you?
No.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with Art Bell. Here's the story in the medals.
It's a joke.
When the original investigative team went to Switzerland, that means Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens, Lee and Britt Elders, and other people who worked with them in 1978-79, Billy Meyer claims that he was instructed by these alleged extraterrestrial beings to turn over a little box full of metal samples and to take them. They told Meyer, suggest to Wendell Stevens that he takes this to a man named Marcel Vogel at IBM. Marcel Vogel took the samples. He took a couple of examples of them. He set up a video camera, and he did electron microscopic analysis and then spectrum analysis, and he basically summed it up. I mean, there's a whole thing where you can watch him go through it. He said, look, with any technology available to me as a scientist, I cannot duplicate this. There are machinings in here that are so fine that they must have been done by lasers. Every element in the periodic table exists, but in discrete relationship to each other that could not have been made by somebody throwing a bunch of elements into a furnace. He said, no, we have to start to take this very seriously. This was done decades ago. And the sound analyses, there was one guy, I think his name is Sheldon or Sheldrake or something at one of the sound labs. He said, based on listening to the sound recording, he thought it was made, and he described the object that would have had to have made those sounds because they are not on record in the sound bank at the Naval Undersea Lab that has everything. And his description matches the description of one of the craft that Billy Meyer photographed and took 64 photos of. These are not anecdotal things. These are hard evidence things, hard evidence, computer analysis, thermographic analysis, you name it. And then just 2.5 years ago, 3 new analyses were done of Meyer's films, including the one that the Japanese film director looked at, and including the one of the unusual object that has 64 photos, and yet another category of Meyer's things. And they now provided with those analyses, Norio, they provide the technology, meaning they tell you what contemporary state-of-the-art technologies they use that you can install in your computer to do the same analyses they did, which certainly Meyer didn't have any access to 30-something, 40 years ago. So we're dealing with hard evidence, not anecdotal stuff, not people who claim that little bug-eyed beings are abducting them and all the rest of this stuff. A whole, kind of train of storytelling that had its origin during the Roosevelt administration, when there were crashes of craft and they knew that there was something else going on in the universe and the American people shouldn't know about it. And that began with a radio presentation by Orson Welles reading the H.G. Wells War of the World, and they did it under threat of death to themselves and their families. It was very successful. People killed themselves worrying that little green Martians were landing in New Jersey. This is an entire intelligence matter. And, gosh, guys, I'm going to give Norio, I'm going to send him all the stuff, but this will change the whole paradigm of there's no evidence. And I'm always surprised that people in the UFO field that are interested in it don't know about this evidence that's just flowing out here. It's overwhelming.
Yes, and Michael, I do want to thank you tremendously for being a part of the program as well and sharing this information with all of us here. And I'm sure Norio is very interested in the material, right, Norio?
Oh, yes. I'm always interested in any material because I can't make a definitive statement about something without seeing the material. But like I said before, my personal opinion and my personal belief is that we have not been presented with anything that says that we have ever been visited by extraterrestrial biological entities in extraterrestrial physical spacecraft of any kind. Yet the phenomenon seems to be real, and yet the phenomenon seems to pre-select in advance who to instantly materialize for a deception. In other words, I told many times that this phenomenon seemed to pre-select the observer in advance for some reason or other, and also this phenomenon seems to affect our physical parameters such as radar and so on, but yet it's very difficult to come up with actual physical solid the proof, and yet the phenomenon seems to affect us. So it's a matter of control of our thinking. Just like Dr. Ballet said, something is working overtime to control our way of thinking. And my opinion about the government is that the government is too dumb to keep secrets for long. So anybody that says that the U.S. government has been hiding anything, it doesn't know what they're talking about, because government cannot keep a secret for too long. And that's a fact. And the intelligence community in the United States also doesn't have any clue what they're talking about, because they are just as well perplexed with this strange phenomenon, and they have no other way to explain. And so they are playing games with the confused public. And, but anyway, it was such a great pleasure to be on this program once again, Mike, and, the two Mikes.
Oh, Norio, we're not done just yet, Norio. Almost done, Norio, almost done. But
I have to express my gratitude not only for you, Michael, presenting this, but actually for how refreshing it is to hear Norio and his take on this. As I said before, we have a great deal of overlap here because, ultimately you could say that we disregard the claims of the UFO community, both of us. And as for the rest of it, I will begin slowly presenting, or perhaps quickly presenting tomorrow, reference links for Norio to start to go over, and he'll be free to obviously question, challenge, whatever, and I will do my best to respond with credible information only. And perhaps in that sense, we will be able to revisit this particular, premise a lot more, as I hope to do it with Michael Shermer, because I think he, as a skeptic, has a moral and ethical obligation when challenged with someone who says they have the evidence, then he should be able to say, well, I'll look at it.
Absolutely. And I'll let him know, and I'll give you Norio's email, and we'll get going with everything here.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think Norio and I already had exchanged.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Very briefly, and we've got each other. And you can be assured that Norio is going to be well provided with whatever we claim we have, and that we will, work to develop that conversation.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Horn, for calling in. Really appreciate your call, my friend.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to also thank Norio for being so generous as to share time with somebody like me who's, excited about a particular thing. And he was just so kind, in my opinion, to do that. Now I will get off the phone and let you guys have the rest of it.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Horn.
Thank you, my friends.
Right,
bye-bye.
Mahalo. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That was the one and only Mr. Michael Horn, a great guy, very passionate about what he believes in Norio, as you can tell.
Yeah, he seems like he believes in what he's saying, and that's all I can say. It's, he's convinced. So everybody has a right to be convinced about something. But my conviction is that the U.S. government hasn't intentionally covered up anything regarding UFOs. It's just that the U.S. government itself has always been perplexed with this phenomenon. So they are not going to make any statements about something that they don't know about. In other words, the only thing that they can make statements are on a physical, scientific level, and they have not made any such things because there doesn't seem to be any physical evidence for anything of this nature. But the government is not interested in any other explanation other than physical evidence and other than possible extraterrestrial physical visitation. But yet they don't have any proof, so they haven't come up with anything. So they don't want to talk about possible pure materialization of these sentient entities, which I believe exist in this cosmos. There are sentient extraterrestrial entities which I call are possibly and only possible as paraphysical. In other words, their ability to appear physically and their ability to affect our physical parameters, such as radars, but their only problem is that they are unable to last too long in our dimension. Only for a few minutes or a few seconds or a few minutes at a time only. So this is my conclusion, that we're talking about this strange phenomenon that has existed since time immemorial, and the strange phenomenon that seem to pre-select its observers.
Right. Yes, I acquiesce.
Seem to disappear or dematerialize, not using any kind of physical propulsion system.
Yeah, that seems much more tangible in my opinion. And with all that said, your view on the paranormal is significantly different from that of the, I guess you could say, conventional ufology belief, correct?
That's correct. And this is the reason why I don't like to use the word paranormal, because it's a word that immediately connotes the belief in,
it's a dirty word. That's true. You're right.
That's why I like to use the word paraphysical.
Paraphysical, okay.
And I've been using that word for a few years. And even when talking about places like Dulce, New Mexico, I believe personally that there could be paraphysical phenomena that exist over there in that region. And so while I do not believe at all that there is a physical underground base in Dulce, New Mexico, I do believe the accounts of many of the local Jicarilla Apache residents in Dulce, New Mexico, who claim to have had strange experiences, which I believe are not physical extraterrestrial spacecraft experiences, but some type of a paraphysical phenomena involving the perception given to the observers as they are, as if they were extraterrestrial beings.
Yes.
And so this is my conclusion. I cannot deny any claims of people who have seen strange things in the sky, but I believe that this is all part of extra-dimensional intrusion, temporary intrusion into our physical dimension for yet reasons unknown. And that's all I can say for right now.
Very interesting. And of course, I must ask you, Norio, where exactly does this interest come from? Were you younger at any time in your age, obviously, when you were a young man, young child? Did you believe in the paraphysical then?
I did not believe in the paraphysical. I only believed in my father's claim that he had seen some strange greenish ball of fire circling a bay of Yokohama, Japan, one summer in the summer of 1947. And he used to tell me about his experience. So I was interested when I was a kid, ever since I was a kid, about flying saucers. But yet it was only in around 1961 that I became sincerely interested in this UFO phenomenon, at which time I was a tremendous supporter of the physical ET hypothesis. But after I studied Dr. Jacques Vallée's work and John A. Keel's works, I became convinced that we may be talking about more than ETs. We may not necessarily even be talking about ETs, but we could be talking about a phenomenon that appears to convince us that that we are seeing extraterrestrial phenomena.
Very, very interesting. And of course, the reason why I asked was I thought maybe perhaps it could have been something that maybe was instilled in you at a very young age. I do know the Japanese are very into folklore, just like my heritage as well. My culture, they're very much the same thing: UFOs, death, those sort of things. The yukai is what I was referring to, Norio.
Yes, that's correct. You said the right word, yukai.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that you said that word. Very good. And so I'm interested in the unexplainable.
Right.
I'm the first to admit that there are unexplainable things in this world. No question about it.
Very interesting. And of course, we've heard all sorts of different stories out there. In Dulce, New Mexico, you have these skinwalker types out there as well.
Exactly. And many of this phenomenon seem to be related to the local Native Americans' belief systems in their, deep religious beliefs that involve entities such as the skinwalkers and other phenomena relative to the phenomenon. So I live in the state of New Mexico where there are at least 23 tribes living here in this unique state of New Mexico. And so, in a way, I'm fortunate to be living here because we can do a lot of studies. We can do a lot of interchange of stories and ideas with the Native American population, which I believe has one of the most amazing, legends and stories and cultural and religious belief, which seem to be tied in with everything.
Oh, yeah. All these things sort of mesh together very nicely, in my opinion.
Exactly. And so I will never, stay away from studying this unknown phenomenon.
It is fascinating, Norio, no doubt. And Norio, I'm curious, have you ever had any sort of experience yourself with something in the paraphysical realm?
Actually, I have not. Well, I have only one time when I was working at a funeral home in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 1980s. I was sleeping alone upstairs at a fairly large funeral home in Little Tokyo in Los Angeles. I was there by myself every night because I had to answer the phones at night. And one night I was sleeping upstairs, and suddenly I woke up, and I heard somebody calling out my name, and it sounded like my father's voice. And so I woke up, and I tried to get up, and I was frozen, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't move anything, but I clearly heard the sound of my voice calling out my name. And lo and behold, what happened was that a week or 10 days later, I found out the news from my mother saying that my father had passed away.
Oh, wow.
This is a real story. And this is the reason why I cannot deny any kind of unusual phenomenon.
Well, it's a very good reason why. Sometimes you just can't. Yeah.
This is definitely a truth.
Yeah, sometimes these things are hard to explain.
That's why this world is so interesting, Michael. And we're living in an amazing world. But we have to be very careful in our path to seeking the truth, because we could be sidetracked by charlatans here and there, and but yet maintaining our focus, acknowledging as we go on our way, acknowledging that there are very strange things that coexist with us. And that's what I would call it, my final word, is that we have to acknowledge that there's something strange going on, but yet we have to keep both of our feet on the ground as we move forward.
Yes, and of course, as we close things down very soon here, I don't mean to drag you into nonsense here, but in the political realm, I did hear Jesse Ventura, someone who wants to maybe run for president sometime. Your thoughts and reactions to that, Norio?
Well, I think, I don't know, about 8 years ago or so, I think Jesse Ventura attempted to run for presidency. But at that time, I thought it was interesting. But yet, it didn't happen. But one person that I kind of admired at one time, and still sometimes I still admire this person, but he's gone. His name was Bill Cooper, and
Bill Cooper, right?
Bill Cooper predicted that a person like this president of the United States would come along, because Bill Cooper presented a scenario that America is changing, and that a person could come up that could move America into a different direction, and whether good or bad, that seemed to be happening.
That's true.
So I'm interested.
Yeah, that is very fascinating. I had no idea that Bill Cooper did make those claims. I'm familiar with many of those, but not that one in particular.
Yes, he did make a lot of claims, but yet Bill Cooper's own personality was not the best. In fact, he had a very, very terrible, obnoxious personality. But that doesn't mean that he was, he wasn't a good person. He tried to be a good person, but unfortunately, he died just as he prophesied. He died with violence, and he was killed by a sheriff deputy in Arizona in 2001, and just as he predicted himself that someday he could be killed, but he was a complex person, and this is the reason why I highly recommend Mark Jacobson's book, the Pale Horse Rider. Pale Horse Rider is a great book that was published last year by Mark Jacobson, a writer in the New Yorker magazine, who wrote this tremendous book about the importance of Bill Cooper. And not that Bill Cooper was a great person, but Bill Cooper did influence a lot of people.
That's right. Yeah, very influential, no doubt. And Norio, again, I'm sorry to hold you here, but before I let you go, I must ask you, are you still doing the conferences out there in your area?
No, I'm not into conferences at all, because there's nothing new. There's nothing new to even hold the conferences. So I'm really not much interested in giving conferences because nothing new has come up.
Oh, I meant the music.
Oh, the music. Yes,
There we
I
go.
am very, very actively participating in this area in New Mexico by providing whole, entertainment, wholesome entertainment at places like retirement centers and nursing homes and hospitals and providing my live music.
Yeah, there we go.
People that encourages people, and I'm a tremendous believer in the role of music, how music affects the brains and helps, especially among the people who have like Alzheimer's and all of those illnesses that senior people have. And so I think this is my destiny to go to these places and provide wholesome entertainment for the good of the people, and that will make people's brain activate more. And I'm very fortunate to have at least 10 to 12 gigs a month in this Albuquerque Rio Rancho area.
That's very nice. I'm glad you're doing something like that, Norio. And of course, I told you this before, but I meant it. You're actually a really good singer, Norio.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't consider myself a great singer, but I consider myself a mediocre keyboardist.
Yes.
And, I like all kinds of music, the blues type music, the rock and roll 50s, 60s music and 70s music and Latin music, salsas and world music like Italian music and the German music. And I consider myself a person of a very broad interest.
Yes, you are, sir. And I do want to thank you tremendously for being a part of the program. I had a great time. I had some fun, and I hope you did too, Norio.
I sure did, and thank you so much, for letting me hear your wonderful, silky, smooth voice, which is very rare.
Well, thank you. Now I'm flattered.
And that's the truth.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Norio, and we'll do this again in the near future, my friend.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again.
Yes, sir. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Norio Hayakawa. Great guest, great man, and of course, I do want to thank Mr. Michael Horn for calling in. That was fantastic, right? To get a chance to hear Mr. Horn, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him again in the very near future. And when I return, we do have some more souls to talk to. Mr. T. London and Jared and Mario from Zombeast is live in the building. I will be talking to the boys in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. And welcome back, boys and girls. Here we are again on a night like this. So good to see so many familiar faces in the chat room still. I'm glad you are here writing with all of us. And I'm not alone, boys and girls. We are joined by multiple souls. Let's bring them in now. And I believe Mr. T. London can hear us now loud and clear, correct?
I can, sir.
Very nice. Now let's bring in Mr. Jared, I assume. And Mario. Let's see. Are they out there? Are you guys live? And now I should be able to hear them.
I guess Jared's not here, huh?
Is Jared gone?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, he's alive. Okay, we do got Jared now.
Nice.
Yeah, Mario's here too.
Yeah, good evening.
Very nice. I'm glad you're here, my friend. And both of you guys make up a band called Zombeast. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how long has that been going on?
Give or take, it's a funny story. We were together in 06 and we broke up in 09. And then over time, just, streaming websites like Pandora and YouTube, they've just been referring our music back to everybody all this time. And so we just got back together again last year and we're working on a new album now.
So you guys reunited?
Yes. After like 10 years.
That's a long time.
It is.
And what made you go back to that, by the way?
I hit up Mario and I kind of just said, hey, we should, we had like a few songs that we never put out. And I said, let's go into the studio, record a 7-inch, put it out, and then play like a final show. And we had such a good time doing it that it kind of just turned into like writing more songs and then just turned into a whole album.
Right on. And of course, Tommy, I do want to thank you for putting this together as well as the job you did with Argyle Goolsby as well.
Hey, no problem, man. Just to clarify, I'm actually not part of the band. I'm actually the touring manager for Goolsby.
That's part of the band to me.
And Damnation.
That's part of the band to me, technically.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Part of the family.
Well, I mean, it is you that helps a lot. So, I mean, you kind of are part of the band. Lots of people don't realize how hard it is to get some of these things together. You definitely need the manpower.
Yeah, totally, man. It's, we've been putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and time and effort on this fucking shit. And, we're getting through it. We all have, other jobs and, personal lives that get on the way. But, we're making it happen. And, there's been a lot of obstacles just for this tour coming up that it's just going to be like 5-6 dates. So we're just glad that, the tour's still on. And, we're excited, man, especially, in the Zombies camp. These guys been inactive for a long time. And it's just great to have these guys back. And, thanks to Goolsby, I was able to meet Jared and Mario and the other guys. So now we're like, super tight. We hang out and we do it old school, man. Like we've been promoting this show for the Rebel Lounge on October 30th. Just putting up posters and flyers, and we stay humble, man. Start from the bottom again, and it's been great to say the least.
Very nice. And Jared, what do you play in the band, by the way?
I am the guitar player.
Guitar player, okay.
Yeah.
And what about Mario out there?
I'm a vocalist.
Oh, the singer.
Yep.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, the funny thing is I actually have heard of the band a while back.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's funny. Mario's the quietest one, but he's a singer.
Ironically enough, right? And who writes the music in the band?
We all do.
Oh, you guys all do? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I guess now it's more so me and Mario going into this next album, but once this album's done and this batch of songs are finished, it'll probably just be like a well-versed aspect of everybody. So.
Nice. Okay. And for those that don't know about the music or anything, how would you describe it to, the newer listeners out there, the ones who are into all the crazy shit I talk about, really? It should pander to them.
I'm going to let Mario take the lead on that one.
Handle it, Mario.
I don't know. I'm very influenced by Glenn Danzig,
Nice.
Sam Hain, Misfits. Horror movies and sick things like that.
Very nice. Yes, it's that time. Are you guys excited for Halloween?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Hell yes.
In fact, we're playing Halloween in San Diego.
Oh, no
with,
shit.
Again,
Okay.
The almighty Argyle Goolsby and Damnation. And so we're looking forward to just a good time for a Halloween in San Diego.
Yeah, that's right by where I'm at. About an hour
Oh, wow,
away.
you have to come down.
Yeah, when on the 31st, I take it, right?
Yeah.
Thursday. Okay, yes.
And like I said before, man, we got you on the list for any of the shows that you want to come out. So
The reason why
just let me know.
Thank you for that. By the way, the reason why I asked is because sometimes some bands say, "Oh, we're playing Halloween," but what they mean is 12 o'clock on the day before.
Right.
Yeah, so I had to make sure. Yes, you'd be surprised how many times I talk to someone, and they are occasionally drinking at the time, and when they tell me, they're like, "Yeah, we'll be on so and so," and then it's not the right date.
Well, I mean, I'm actually gonna plug myself a little bit.
Plug
now
yourself.
that
Go
this
ahead.
is a good lead. Thanks, man. Well, we'll be on October 30th at the Rebel Lounge in Phoenix, Arizona. October 31st, we're gonna be at the Tower Bar in San Diego,
Nice.
and probably the best show in the tour is gonna be at the Whiskey in Los Angeles, California, on November 1st. So those are the highlight shows that we have. I mean, not to put the other ones down, but
But it's the Whiskey,
like,
though. That's a badass venue.
it's the Whiskey, man. Yeah, like, I mean, for us, well, especially, talking about myself, the Whiskey's, like legendary, man, Motley Crue, LA Guns, Rat, and bands like that, The Doors. So it's gonna be, definitely a highlight in our careers to, be working with all the people down there. So it's gonna be great, man.
Yeah,
Very
to
nice.
piggyback off of what Tommy's saying, that show is just going to be a big deal for us. So we're hoping. LA has always been. It's almost like, I mean, Arizona's great to us. Don't get me wrong. We have so many amazing people here that come out and see us every time.
Not like LA,
we
man.
play.
Not like LA. You got all the animals there.
That's what I'm saying.
Hell
Though
yes.
LA is a whole nother beast. It's kind of almost always kind of been like our biggest market, and so we're just hoping that all of our friends in LA, because I don't even like saying fans. It's kind of weird. Like everybody's friends to us. If they're coming out to see us and sing along, I'm just hoping they all come out and just have a killer time with us this week.
Very cool. Very cool. And are you guys going to be dressing up on stage? What's going on?
Oh, me? I don't know. That's a tricky one. Mario might surprise us.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Is Mario going to come? Is he going to be dressed like Timothy McVeigh?
Maybe more like Charles Manson.
Love that.
Yeah. If he lets that beard grow in, he could be Charles Manson any day of the week.
I mean, if you're going to be anyone, that'd be a great pick, right?
Yeah, it would be. Me and Mario were talking about, we just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we both agreed that Mario himself could have played a better Charles Manson than that one dude they put in that movie. So.
Amen to that.
Yeah. What else, Tommy? Santa Cruz, though, is the next night, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel bad that I left out the other dates out, but so
Yeah.
we'll be at
go
the Catalyst in Santa Cruz on November 2nd, November 3rd at the 924 Gilman in Berkeley, and to close we'll be in Fresno at the Fulton 55 in November 4th. Now, with that being said, Zombies only will be doing the 30th, the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd.
And what about any stories about perhaps maybe you guys like fighting someone on stage? Has that ever happened to you guys? People love those questions. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Mario, is there anything you can think of offhand? I forget stuff left and right.
Did Mario kick a girl on stage? Anything like that?
Oh no.
Well, let's make it clear
No,
here.
might whip
There's
them with
an
the
inside
cord or
joke
something.
here.
That's better.
Like, we will never kick anyone out of bed. Let me tell you that.
I mean, I would, but that's me. I mean, I played a couple of shows in backyards, and I was known to hit a couple of people that would get in the way.
Hell yeah, dude. So, hey, I got a story for that.
Go ahead.
I think the only person that's been hit on stage is me by Mario. So he was whipping his mic. We were doing our thing, and he swung his mic back, and I got too close, and I got smacked pretty good. And to top it off, he gave me the meanest look as he did it too. So, yeah, it hurt.
Mario is the Freddie Mercury of the band.
Yeah, basically.
Sure.
That's a hell of a singer, by the way.
I remember. I think Jared might have used someone as like a monitor stand, a foot stand.
That counts. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not exactly proud of that moment, but it's true. So
If he gets the job done, why not, right?
right. So the person was a good sport about it. He was a friend of ours, and yeah. So
and what
not much to that.
Nice. And what about playing with other bands? I try to get Goolsby to sort of spill the beans on this sort of thing, but he was kind of quiet. I was hoping he would name one band or something like that so I could sort of get him to open up about it. But I was curious, in terms of like bands you played with, have any of them sort of been like just complete dicks to you guys? I'm sure there's got to be, right?
It's mainly been club fucking owners and promoters.
Yeah, those
have
are
been just in the past.
Club owners are typically dicks for sure. Had to work for a couple.
Yeah,
so,
there's some really good ones out here, and in the places we played with some really. I don't know. I think we've been lucky in that regard. I don't know, Mario. Do you think of a band that was jerky to us?
No.
Yeah.
Standoffish, I guess.
Yeah. So I will say that when we played with the Misfits, Jerry's version of the Misfits, so we're talking Jerry Only, Des Cantina, and I think maybe Robo,
right?
Yeah. Somebody there in that camp was mad at me for wearing a Danzig sweater backstage. So I think that's like the weirdest thing I've ran into. So.
Someone, no names, huh?
No names. But
There's
somebody
like a
in that
roadie
camp,
guy or something.
yeah, it was
a
like
roadie
a road
guy.
crew person, and he stopped me and he says, he's like, "Really, dude? You're really gonna fucking wear that here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. I'm like, why not?" Like,
Are you sure it wasn't Jerry Only's brother?
No, it wasn't.
The Fiend.
So, I don't remember which person it was, but all I know is that it doesn't matter anymore, really, because everybody's all harmonious in that camp now. So.
Well, look who's afraid of Jerry Only's brother. I had to throw it in there. I'm sorry. I love doing that.
No. So
Very cool. Very cool. And,
that's funny.
yeah. By the way, guys, what kind of equipment are you guys rocking? I'm talking about guitars, that sort of thing. Go ahead.
I'm kind of going through like a guitar midlife crisis right now. I recently bought Mario's laughing because he knows it's true. I recently bought 2 PRSs that were awesome, and I was obsessed with them for like about a year, and now I just sold them all, and I'm now back to using Les Paul. So I play through like a Les Paul right now and a EVH 4x12 in head.
No bass, huh?
I'm sorry?
I said, and no one knows what the bassist is using, right?
No, Ryan plays through an Ampeg 4x10, and he uses, Ryan's kind of got like a bunch of like Frankenstein guitars where like they'll be like Squire bodies, and then he'll upgrade all the gear in them. So there's like I don't know, Ryan's setup is interesting because he really likes to piece together his own guitars, but Squire for the most part.
I like knowing about gear. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. And then Bo's playing, I think, a DW kit, right? Is that what it is, Mario?
Yep.
Yeah. Bo's proud of his new kit. He just got a shiny new one. And
nice.
all new cymbals, so.
Very cool. And Tommy just uses his hands.
Well, I mean,
like a porn star.
I'm not gonna deny that. No, well, I mean, I can play a little bit. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't play with myself, but yeah. No, I do play. I play throughout Marshall and Blackstar amps, and then for guitars, I used LTD and Schecter. I'm kind of all over the place. But,
very cool. And by the way, the chat room, here in the chat room, I have someone by the name of Flying Medusa who's saying Danzig is such a diva. Your thoughts and reactions, go ahead.
I think Glenn can do whatever the fuck he wants because he's Danzig.
I kind of feel the same way in a weird sense.
Yeah, I think he's earned it, man. Like, aside from somebody like Ozzy or somebody like Dio, there's not that many people that have a legacy from like Misfits to Sam Hain to Danzig like Glenn does. So I think Glenn gets to do whatever he wants. He's been pretty cool to us every single time we met him.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that he's been cool. He's kind of notorious for being very standoffish with his fans. Or at least that's what they say. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I just think it's people approaching him with the wrong thing. When you're promoting new work and
yes,
you have like some drunk asshole who's constantly going on about how he needs to be getting back together with the Misfits. Like I could see where that could just start meeting somebody off the wrong way.
That's true. I could see that as well. And of course, if you guys remember, which I'm sure you do, and you know what I'm going to bring up now, the incident with the Northside Kings, if you remember that.
Yeah, that was a while back.
But
yeah,
that's a weird.
Remember that?
That's a very strange group, by the way. The Northside Kings. Are they even still around?
I don't know.
No clue.
I don't think so.
They're from Arizona too, but I haven't heard anything from them in a long time.
And Tommy, did you see that? By the way, did you see Glenn Danzig hitting the floor from that giant singer?
I did, my brother. My heart, broken.
Ooh.
Heartbroken.
What happened to the karate from Mr. Glenn Danzig?
I don't know, man. I think, there's always going to be that someone that's going to be, above you in some sort of way or another. So it's all good, man.
That was a big dude.
We all still look into him and,
Hey, that was a big guy though, man. Danzig isn't even, I was going to say Danzig isn't even that big. And the singer from Northside Kings, he's a big, heavy set guy.
Yeah, the guy's pretty huge and intimidating, so I wouldn't fuck with that guy.
Hell no. Much shout out to Northside Kings, by the way. Don't want to get knocked out now.
Totally.
For sure. But yes, I'm very surprised that Glenn did return to the band, by the way, for that short little run. I was shocked by that. I didn't think that would ever happen. Your thoughts and reactions, boys?
I didn't think it was going to happen either. So, and it was weird because as soon as I saw that promo for Riot Fest, there was just something about that promo where I kind of just looked at my computer and I just shut the fuck up. And
right.
And then the next day it was announced. So I was pretty blown away by it.
Tommy, your thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, I never thought it was going to happen, man. But like Jared said, it did. And just the shock that Mike Hideous was. you know, I haven't got the chance to go see them live. I think they played today the Madison Square Garden, which was impressive.
Wow.
And I believe it was sold out, right?
They sold out oh wow, they sold it out. Holy shit, okay.
Yeah, last one.
That's not easy to do. Much respect
no, it's
to
crazy
them.
because Mario and I were at Bank of California Stadium earlier in the year when in June or whatever when they did it. The loudest fucking thing I have ever heard in my life is 20 to 22,000 people screaming, "I want your skull." Like, it was the loudest thing I've ever heard.
Apparently, Flying Medusa in the chat room is saying Riot Fest Chicago was so fucking amazing. That's his words. I guess he was there.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that anyone who saw those shows, like, it was weird, man. You know, like, I didn't know how it was going to affect me. I was like, when the reunion happened, I was like kind of one of those people that was like, oh man, I wish this was like 10, 15 years sooner, but I was happy. But when we saw it in LA, the first LA show, because Mario and I have gone to two, when personally for me, when I saw like Doyle and Jerry on stage together, it was a little surreal. And then when Glenn came out with the three of them,
wow,
that's when it was like, the way that I described it, it was like seeing like real life monsters, like your favorite monsters from your movies, like coming to life, like right in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's almost like seeing the Rolling Stones.
Sure.
Except not with that much money, but I mean, you know, in terms of what we sort of grew up listening to, because I'm sure just like you guys, we all grew up listening to the Misfits, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, Keith Richards does probably look close to a corpse at this point.
That's true. He really does. How do those guys, how are they even alive? That's what I'm tripping out about, really. I'm like, how the fuck are these guys even alive after all the drugs and all that shit?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I see photos of James Hetfield lately. And James Hetfield, he's 55, but physically going on 73.
Yeah, he looks like shit for sure.
Doesn't make sense. He does. He does not look good these days. It's sad. It breaks my heart. It's like from my childhood.
Yeah, the dude is he's like a serious alcoholic, correct?
I think he was, and he's been sober for like the last, I think, give or take, like 15 years. Like, he just fell off the wagon, I guess.
Oh, well, that's normal. I mean, you know, a guy could have a couple of drinks, right? Yeah. Unless it got kind of out of control, which I think might have happened. I'm not sure, but I could see that.
Yeah, it was right around the anniversary of Cliff's death too, is what Mario pointed out to me. So who knows?
Well, I mean, brother, I got to tell you, brother. Here, I'm sorry, I'm calling you brother like Hulk Hogan, but I mean, brother. But I mean, I have to bring up the fact that, you know, that sort of thing it affects a lot of people. Alcoholism, it seems to be a theme for all musicians out there.
Yeah, for sure. And actually,
I struggled with it.
The best ones are on heroin, though. Would you agree with me on that one? It's pretty controversial, but the best musician, yeah, man, the best musicians, in my opinion, have always been addicted to heroin. I don't know why, but it's always the goddamn heroin addicts who are just musical geniuses. I could be wrong, but that's just my thoughts and opinions.
I grew up in the era of like Speed Freak, East Bay, like punk rock kids. Like when I was in the Green Day when I was a kid. Oh,
you're listening to Operation Ivy then, right?
What's that?
I said you were listening to Operation Ivy.
Yes. Right, all those bands. Okay. Like during that big breakout of like Green Day and the second wave of like punk rock or American punk rock.
Sure.
All those bands were using speed and they were super fast and super tight. So.
Now you know why, right?
Yeah.
But yes, the heroin boys, ladies and gentlemen out there, the heroin, that's just one of those things. If your favorite musician is not using heroin, then he's probably not that good. I'm Michael Deacon.
Yeah,
Thank you for listening.
Tommy's secret to his playing.
What about my secret?
I said, I think that's Tommy's secret to his guitar playing. It's just some China White right up into the vein, and then he's just soloing all over.
He's chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Hey, well, actually, I gotta call someone out. The chat. Stars and Bars. She said, "I hate when my personal life, like my family, get in the way." Oh, I think she was calling me out. Never mind then.
How dare you?
Yeah. Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say. So I actually been clean for 5 months. So that's what I was referring when, personal life.
Clean for 5 months from what, if you don't mind me asking?
Just mainly blow and alcohol, whiskey, Jagger.
Okay. So
all of the above.
I got to ask you something. Being like that, you have experimented a time or two with, this powdery substance. I'm in California. I hung out with I still do hang out with all sorts of walks of life. Lots of people that are into, putting things up their nose every now and then. I'm not going to judge them. And I'm just curious, wherever you are in America here, are you at all concerned about some of the product that you are getting, especially nowadays where it is kind of dangerous to, sort of take that gamble with those sort of white substances? Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure, man. First and foremost, because you don't know. Sometimes you don't know who's actually selling it, and
you don't know
who's cutting it, and what are they cutting it with? Is it a different drug, or is it just chalk, or
worried about that fentanyl,
sugar? Yeah. So that's and if you're actually mixing other drugs that night, it can get pretty dangerous. So it's definitely a concern, but at the end of the day, it's
Well, I mean, you won't be too much concerned if you're at the whiskey. You're kind of close to Mexico. There, you'll be safe. It's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have said that.
You know what? I mean, I really have no intentions of doing another drug or
good,
having a drink
good.
again. Yeah,
Okay.
man, it's been a game changer for me to quit all the substances, and I'm just a different person, man.
Stay natural, man. Stay natural.
Yeah. I mean, you can ask any of these guys, and we still hang out. We still go to clubs, we still go to bars, and I still act like a fucking idiot.
That's
I still
okay.
have a great time. Yeah,
I love that.
Well, see, they're laughing because they know.
Yeah, I'm on that same wagon. Not to cut off Tommy, but I'm trying to. I've stopped drinking in the last month.
Oh no!
And not that I. Yeah, I know. Not that I've had a problem with it, but I'm just trying to hit some goals right now.
You've been hanging out with Argyle Goolsby too long.
What's that?
I said you've been hanging out with Argyle Goolsby too long. He turned you into a straight edge guy.
Yeah, I'm basically straight edge now. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I really am, because it's just the late nights. Like, I'll tell you what, the only time I have to work out is in the mornings, and there's nothing like boozing the night before and a hangover to make you skip going to the gym.
Well, sometimes you could take some Mother Earth and you'll feel better. I mean, at least it makes me feel better.
That just gets my anxiety through the roof, whether it's an indica or sativa or it's a hybrid.
You got to hit those sativas and then go to the gym, man. Then you'll be like if you are on Adderall lifting weights.
Right. That's what I need. I just need to pop an Adderall in the morning, and I'll just that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, you gotta be like Arnold.
By the way, Guten Morgen for those German listeners out there who do tune into the program, and if they're listening, it's probably that time. It is morning out there for them. So Guten Morgen to the Germans out there.
Yeah, don't forget your morning line.
Yeah, good speed out there. But that's besides the fact. Tommy.
Yes, sir.
Mr. T. London, I mean, that sort of name, it makes it sound like you're some kind of like bare knuckle underground sort of street fighter out there in the UK.
Well, in reality, I'm just a cholo from Mexico.
I was going to ask you if you knew Lee Murray, but yes, a cholo from Mexico. Yes. Not very far from where I'm at, just a couple miles away.
Yeah. And you know what? It ties very, good with what we're going to do tonight. After this, we're going to do what they call it, a cholo goth night.
What the hell is that?
I think Jared can elaborate a little bit.
Jared, please do tell.
Okay, so there is a group called Prayers, which I'm not too familiar with.
Are they
But
Christians?
I do know that. No.
Okay.
Or I don't know. I'm not the authority on them. It's
Maybe.
weird, but they're kind of like they're like this hip hop, like kind of death rock group, and they
Interesting.
one of the members is doing a theme night, and seeing how Tommy, Mario, and myself are on the hustle for these shows, we're just gonna go down there and hit that and do some flyering. But basically, it's a bunch of like cholo people that are also goth. So it's
Oh,
going to
shit.
be like I don't know, Tommy. Thanks for leaving that one up to me.
I mean, you got a lot. You got a lot of that in Mexico and TJ as well. You have a lot of that scene out there as well.
Yeah, there's now like all this fucking crossover with genres and stuff like that. So,
You guys got to go to
it's
Mexico, by the way. You guys would be loved there.
oh, bro, I
Fuck yeah.
fucking lived there for 15 years, and
Mexico is awesome. For those that don't know.
yeah, yeah. It's after 2008, it got pretty dangerous.
That's
and
what makes it fun, though. That's what makes it fun. The dangerous element, seeing the armed guards with the AK-47s and the other things. I mean, what's there
It's
not to
funny,
love?
though,
What's there not
because
to love?
I used to go to Mexico quite a bit with some family members back in the day, and the first time I ever went to Mexico, I walked into like a scene from literally like a Tarantino movie.
Oh shit!
Like I'm in Mexico, my white pasty ass is there, not belonging, and we went to a restaurant, and I walk into the restaurant to go use the bathroom, and I walk into the bathroom, and there's one toilet, it's a stall. I open up the stall, and the toilet is covered in fresh blood. Like,
Oh my god!
covered, like dripping down the bowl, and that's when I knew I was in Mexico.
Yeah, you just witnessed your first close hanger abortion, huh?
Something, man. Yeah, but it was an abundance of fresh blood.
Oh my
and
god!
I don't know who it belonged to or how it got there, but somebody was probably missing something.
Oh boy!
You know what?
Somebody-
That actually reminds me. The last time we were on tour a few weeks ago, the restroom story.
The restroom story. Oh, please tell.
Oh, well, Jared has to tell this one.
Oh, wait, what's the story? I didn't hear.
The restroom story. On the way back.
So, you're driving through El Paso, and you would think that in the barren wasteland that is New Mexico and parts of Arizona, you would think that if there is a bathroom at a rest stop in the middle of nowhere, it would be a fully staffed, like Flying J or Love's bathroom. And lo and behold, all four to six of us in the van have to use the restroom.
Oh boy!
And Tommy makes a stop. Tommy's like, bro, I'm going to poop my pants. And so we stop for Tommy, and we go into the bathroom, and it's just one stall, one urinal. And there's a line, all of us are lined up waiting to use this. And this dude is just taking a duke of epic proportions.
Wow!
And the whole thing fucking stinks. No courtesy flush. We're all tired. So we're talking, having a conversation, and there's no courtesy flush. And I walk in and I say, hey guys, I don't know if anybody's noticed it, but it smells like shit in here. And then we all had a good laugh at the expense of the dude in the urinal. And yeah, that's basically it.
Wow. Yeah, that's gotta be careful when you go into public bathrooms out there. You might find something you might not like.
Oh, bro,
Yeah.
I put fucking triple paper on every single seat that I go.
I would have to hope so. You don't want to get that Hep C.
Yeah. I mean, these guys know how fucking germaphobe I am. And
By the way,
it's
since we
definitely
said Hep C, I need to hear this from you boys. Would you have banged Pamela Anderson, given the fact that she would give you Hep C? Your thoughts and your reactions. Go ahead.
good. Oh yeah, fuck it.
I mean, if you're gonna get Hep C, you might as well get it from Pamela Anderson, right?
I mean, it's Pamela Anderson. Come on, man.
I would definitely bang her and get Hep C. I don't give a goddamn. I would do it.
Look,
For the story alone,
people are
it's the
gonna give me
story.
shit for this answer, but she's like, and people are going to Sam full of it, but she's a little too 1992 for my liking.
Well, I mean now, but I mean, like, let's say like 5 years ago, you wouldn't contract Hep C from her. Well, 10 years ago.
I will not kick her out of bed.
Or is she clean now? Did they cure that? I don't even know.
I don't know, man.
Some people do get cured of it. I think it's kind of luck, though.
That's so weird, by the way, man. Hep C,
Yeah.
that's like a weird thing you don't really even think about. That Tommy Lee now. Good Lord. Just think about all the women he banged,
I'm sure
right?
there's all sorts of things on that dick.
Do you think he might have banged like a guy at one time too? You never know, right?
Well, I think there was a story with a Slash. I really don't remember. I think it's in the dirt.
That's what I wonder about those sort of things though, Tommy. Like, I wonder if like a lot of these guys, occasionally they're into groupies for so long, because you hear stories of different actors going through that phase as well. You bang, you're banging all kinds of meat all the time, and maybe you want some new kind of strange, something you've never experienced. And sometimes that's like, it comes from a guy, maybe. I mean, just look at Elton John. And look at, someone like John Travolta, who's also a known homosexual. You guys might not even know this, but check this out. I live in a little town called El Centro, California, and right next to it is a little town called Imperial, California. And we do have like this, it's like an airport, but it's really fucking small. Well, check this out, boys. John Travolta, and I'm not lying. If I'm lying, I'll be struck by lightning. And there's no lightning hitting me, as you can tell. And this guy, John Travolta, would fly out here, and he would definitely be banging this one young police officer out here, boys and girls. And it's a fact. I had friends who worked for the police department out here, and they could attest to this. John Travolta, definitely interested in a younger police officer, and I'm pretty sure he was plowing that young man.
Hey, that's what you want to spend your Friday night doing.
That's Hollywood, boys and girls. If you haven't noticed already, some of these marriages are not legit.
Or maybe you're Saturday night, no pun intended.
Mr. Saturday Night, that's what they call me.
Yeah.
No homo though, I promise.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, with you three boys, maybe I might do a little on top of the clothes action, some PG-13 stuff.
Oh.
Maybe.
Where did I go to sleep and wake up in? What is this?
I've been hanging out in Mexico too long. Amazing.
I miss Mexico, man. I haven't been back since they made you have a passport to go. So
oh, that's right. Yeah. Kind of dark times now, dark times. But, that reminds me of when we were talking earlier, in my mind, I had this gentleman by the name of, what's his face? The singer from Linkin Park.
Chester.
Yeah, Chester. I did want to get your sort of thoughts and reactions to one Chester and the fact that he offed himself, and all kinds of people in the conspiracy realm, they were saying, oh, the guy was killed purposely because he was going to uncover like this big pedophile ring. Your thoughts and reactions to that? Go ahead.
Mario?
I'd love to hear this.
I don't have any.
I can go next. I don't know, man. I think seeing how a good friend of mine killed himself.
Oh, bummer.
In the same demeanor, I believe. Didn't Chester hang himself, or did he drown himself? I forget.
I think he hung himself. Yeah.
Yeah, a good friend of mine did it, and it's weird. I think I don't. Maybe this is the wrong show to say this on. No disrespect to anybody, but I think everybody just always has to turn something into some weird, sexy fucking mystery, which is fun. I get it. I get the desire to do that.
Sure.
But I think when it comes to that, all I know is the night that my friend killed himself, all the people I know who saw him that night said that he was laughing and having a good time, and he was hosting a party. And after everybody left, that's when he decided to do it. So it's weird. I think depression's a motherfucker, and I think that some people just, no matter what they have, they just have this nagging itch in the back of their mind, and eventually it just gets them.
Yeah, that's the scary part about life and humans in general. You never know what they're thinking in their heads or what's going on in their minds, and of course we don't see life through their eyes. So that's what makes it kind of weird. You know, you really can't trust too many people out there.
I agree, and I myself struggle with suicidal thoughts a lot.
Did
but
you?
My suicidal thoughts are at the result of just like being lazy. like, oh fuck, I got to mow the lawn today. Fuck, and it's like the same way that Bill Burr, the comedian, describes driving to the store because he had to make a pie, and how he was daydreaming about just letting the car veer off the road and flip and hope it kills him so he doesn't have to make a fucking pie.
Amazing. Tommy, do you have anything to add to this?
Not really, to be honest. I'm in the same boat as as Jared, and I don't think he will mind me say this, but like me and him just kind of talk when we're going through stuff, and we help each other, and you just gotta have someone to talk to. I think that helps a lot.
Don't tell me you're getting all emo on me here, are you? You fucking motherfucker, getting emo here, crying. You fucking. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, man. I mean, I think we all have some sort of depression, and we all go through there.
Sure, we go through our our peaks and our valleys and our trials and tribulations for sure. That's life, boys and girls.
Yeah, it is.
For sure.
And Tommy, and to piggyback off of Tommy, he's right. Tommy's dealing with his own shit. I deal with mine. On a more serious note, I struggle with body dysmorphia. It definitely can turn a good day into a day of just literally considering like ending your life.
Wait a minute. Tell me that again. What's going on here? You're suffering from what?
So I struggle with body dysmorphia where.
But why? What? You're a man though. You shouldn't be emotional about that sort of thing. You're a guy. Who gives a fuck?
That's what society says, but not all of us are the same way.
Oh no, are you turning vegan on me? Is that what you're telling me?
Turning vegan? Is that what you're getting at?
I'm playing with you. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I struggle with that like big time, and it can take the best day of my life and turn it into the worst. And so Tommy and I, and even Mario, have conversations about our shit. I think I consider myself really lucky to have the group of friends that I do in the band. Ryan, Bo, all them too. We all openly talk about what's bothering us.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
And I think we get through it all by just talking about it, with each other.
That's a good thing though, because communication is a pretty big part of everything, really, and especially if you play in a band. Lots of people are overly emotional. Sometimes you could say something and you piss someone off, and all of a sudden you won't find them on a Monday night practicing with you again.
Oh yeah. I'm not very fond of being in a band with, just straight up, and I expect like a certain level at all times, and it's good to have somebody, I guess, in the band like that is just making sure everybody's up to par. But I'm seriously surprised like Bo or Ryan haven't killed me and hid my body in the desert yet. So.
Well, you might be speaking a little too soon here. Maybe they're playing on that.
They might be. They're not with us right now, so they could literally be waiting.
They might be scheming. You never know. It might be scheming. And by the way, since Tommy, I have to bring you in here, Tommy. We were just talking about, using drugs and alcohol, those sort of gimmicks and stuff. When I brought up that sort of thing to Argyle Goolsby, he was definitely not on board with that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's for me. It's kind of hard to express and tell people my thoughts because I was a guy who fucking abused substances for a decade, and now
sure.
I'm the most straight edge person you could probably meet, and in a way where like I'm just an advocate to, you know, be clean and be sober, and like I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke weed, I don't, you know, smoke cigarettes, I don't do anything.
You're a role model now.
I'm a grown up. But
Yeah,
I
you
know,
are.
man, but like at the same time, you know, like, and you know, these guys, you know, have been around me when you know, we go to clubs and bars, and you know, if you're drinking, I mean, I don't give a fuck, man. You know, if you're doing drugs in front of me, like, that's cool too, man. But I'm just not gonna do them, you know.
So, like, if I'm snorting like this fat line off this Colombian stripper's ass, you're definitely not going to partake in that, right?
Well, I mean, I'll probably have to join that one, right?
Amazing.
No, but I will be, you know, like, it's tough for me to say, like, yeah, like, I encourage it. Like, it's not, like, that would be, like, fucked up to me to say, like, for some people.
Right,
you know,
right.
Like, you could see it like that. But, like, I don't know, man. Like, there's this side of me, this Debbie Lee Roth, you know, Vince Neil, party 80s kind of dude approach, you know. But at the same time, you know, it's, like, this, you know, adult person who is now in control.
You guys are better than me. That's all I could say. You guys are a lot better than me. I'm no role model for sure.
Well, you know what? Like, I overdid, like I said, you know, substances for 10 years, and I just can't have one, you know. Like, if I'm gonna drink, I want to get fucked, you know. If I wanna snore, I want to do it for.
So when you're
know.
drinking, buddy, like, you can't just be cool with just being like really buzzed, almost at that level where the room's kind of like spinning, or you got to go full bore where you're like blacking out.
Yep.
Depends on the night. Depends on the night. Depends on the event, you know.
Okay.
But it was definitely getting on the way of, you know, who I was, my personality, my communication skills, and you know, I couldn't even fucking talk to a girl, you know. I mean, not that I can talk to them now, but but you know, like things like that get on the way.
Tommy, you have no game. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't feel like I have any.
Boys, tell me the truth. Boys, Mario, Jared, tell me the truth. What's going on with our boy Tommy here?
Got a ton of game.
He's got game.
Tommy's got a ton of game. He just doesn't believe in himself as much as he should. So,
he doesn't have the confidence.
Ladies, I'm just going to put it out there.
The self-confidence.
Tommy is Mr. Good Time all the time, completely sober.
I mean,
right?
I seen Tommy. He looks like he has that exotic look to him. Like, you know, he could bang out some broads for sure. You know, he could definitely go all night long. You know, he's one of the guys that can make the night last forever for some women out there. You know, he's a romantic man. I think it's in him. I think he could definitely lay down the girls for sure. I could see him like he's a ladies' man. I could tell.
He's a ladies' man, but it's kind of funny how shy he is sometimes, and I don't quite understand why.
T Money,
Tommy, I'm sorry.
T Money, are you shy? T Money, tell me the truth.
Yeah, I mean, and just to you know, give you an example, like last night we went out to a normal goth night. It's not a cholo goth night, but it was just a regular goth night here in Phoenix. And
okay.
There was a kind of female that I like a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
big-breasted goth girl, right?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean,
oh, that's what I'm into. Sorry.
No, I am into that, but I wasn't referring to that. I don't want to say it because, you know, they're laughing already because they already, you know what I'm about to say. But no, there was this girl that I was really attracted to, and I just couldn't do it, man. Like, you know, like I put too much thought into it.
Oh no, Tommy!
I told the guys, and I fucked it up, man.
Good Lord, Tommy.
I know, man. I know. She was perfect, though. She gave me the eye. She gave me the smile, and I fucked it up. What can I say?
Tommy.
Tommy's wave of depression has just come over him for the night, realizing what transpired again.
You lose out, my friend. If you lose out if you don't take a swing there.
Oh, I know, man. I should have.
You should have. You got nothing to lose.
She's what I'm looking for, man. And these guys know it. I know it. You know it. You know?
So you're looking for like a Suicide Girl type model, right? Is that what you're looking for?
Not at all, man. I'm looking for...
I've gone out with a couple of them, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. There was actually one... Oh, God, I shouldn't say this. Was from around here that, you know, that's kind of what she hoped and seeked for in her entire life back in high school. And, you know, I got involved with this one. And one day, you know, without tattoos or anything, but that's what she hoped for. And then later on in life, now she's covered in tattoos.
Wow.
Amazing. But yeah, I've known to go out with a few of those girls that work there. Yes, that's true. I shouldn't have said that, but I got myself in trouble now. Go ahead.
Hey, man, that's the Michael Dickens show, brother.
I should have never said that, but now I know I'm going to feel the wrath later. Someone is going to say something.
Preach, my brother.
God damn it.
You're going to get an angry message on Facebook.
I get in trouble all the time. You guys don't even know this, but I get so much heat from like different shows, different personalities, different women have even, you know, I hate to even bring up that sort of aspect in my life, but this show has ruined countless relationships. That's not true. I mean, that's not a fake. That's not a gimmick. That is the reality of what goes on here.
Tommy and I are very secure in our union, so good luck there, buddy.
We got your back.
Well, thank God. Thank God someone does.
We're your saviors.
I need that. I need that in life. But yes, my friends, doing this show has caused some trouble for sure. Got to be honest.
You know what? Not enough, but I hope we can do some more trouble in the future, my friend.
I'm all about that.
I mean, and if you're going to come out to the show, well, you know.
I might. I mean, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking, you know, what else am I going to do on a Thursday? It's Halloween. I'm celebrating the 3rd year anniversary of this program, and I'm happy as shit.
Nice. Congrats, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you, boys. Thank you guys so much. I've accomplished a lot on my own here, but of course I had some help. But the show's expanding, and it's doing quite well. The podcast rendition of this program is quite popular nowadays too, which is tremendous. I'm so happy.
Yeah, man, you've been doing a great job, and you know, I've been listening to you since you had the interviews with Mike Hideous, and it's just always, you know, Mike Hideous is one of the guys that I've looked up to for a long time, and you know, I just always love fucking, you know, tuning in and listening to what he has to say. I love when he fucking rants, and I love Empire Hideous for sure.
He's a wild man. And by the way, I thought I was hearing Jared and Mario back there. In terms of Mike Hideous, what are your thoughts and opinions of one Mike Hideous?
I've heard some stuff of his that was cool. Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar as I should be. I find that I'm quite embarrassed by that because I have, like, Tommy's always spoken very highly. One of our other friends is like a fanatic of his. I'm not that much familiar with him. What about you, Mario?
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, he's pretty talented. If you hear some of the songs he came up with, going back to his catalog, the dude is actually a damn good musician for sure.
Yeah, I know he's one of those like self-made dudes who can do like his own project like entirely himself, and I always respect anybody who can do that.
Yeah, that's some pretty crazy shit there. And speaking of which, what kind of music? I know we're running out of time here pretty soon here, but I'm curious, what kind of music do you guys listen to, if you guys listen to music at all nowadays?
Mario, what are you listening to lately?
I don't know. A lot of old stuff.
Just old stuff, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario's a little, he's like a little classic rock. I mean, so obviously Sabbath and all the Danzig catalog and all that stuff is always like principal for us as a band. But yeah, we're an eclectic mix, so that's for sure.
And what about you, Tommy?
I'm kind of all over the place. Lately I've been listening to I'm gonna pull my Amazon music.
Madonna.
Dude, I love Madonna.
She's got some jams. She's got some good jams there.
Yeah, man, like Madonna, George Michael, you know, Boy George, you know,
I came out to some
Wow.
George Michael here, actually. We might even close the show with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I might even put Careless Whisper on when we close here.
Love it. That's hot, man.
It is. It's actually very sexy. Very sexy. The women love it. Men don't even realize it. You know, they're very very unaware of certain music that could definitely help them acquire what they'd like to take, if you know what I mean.
Take it in.
Yeah, it's weird. And like Tommy looks at his Amazon list, I want to throw props out there to my obsessions over the last year. Trap Majesty, Ritual House. So those are some good bands I've been digging lately.
I love that band.
But that's so crazy that you guys are like touring around, playing shows. That sort of shit has to be very difficult, especially nowadays. Would you say that's a fair statement to make?
It's easier in some ways.
You think
right?
it's easier?
It's easier in the aspect of like technology, right? Like when me and Mario first toured together the first time, the iPhone wasn't even out. So
oh shit, okay.
We didn't have GPS. We had a map book of one destination to the other. And so touring now with better vehicles and technology is better. However, what sucks about what we're doing is that like rock music, punk rock, rock and roll, it's just not fucking popular right
Dude,
now.
That's like the relics of the past for sure.
Yeah, it's weird though, right? Because everything goes in waves.
Right.
I remember like what got me into music was that second wave of punk rock in the 90s, where it's like Offspring and Rancid and Face to Face and shit like that. But right now, I can't think of a time where just like punk rock bands, because Zombies at its core is kind of a punk rock band. I mean, if Mario and I were rooted in anything at one point, it was punk.
It's a little horror punk, but I mean, I would have to say it's more a little punk rock at times there.
Yeah. So it's like, I just, we're not exactly heavy enough to be considered a metal band.
Right.
But we're also not like just straight up punk enough to be called a punk rock band. So we're in this middle, and just neither of those genres are just insanely popular right now. And so guitar-based music is just like, it's a barren wasteland right now, kind of.
Yeah, that's true. These sort of things do come in cycles, and right now what we're seeing in the music industry is an abundance of just purely rap music that has for sure taken over the industry, and the record labels are hard at work monopolizing all these sort of things, making sure everything is definitely on some sort of constant syndication around the globe, really playing this sort of music. And really it comes down to how much money you have in your pockets. Promotion is everything. And just like I was talking to my first guest about Tom DeLonge and his interest with ufology, the fact that, he's kind of like a pretty famous guy and he's got plenty of money in the bank, I'm sure that's like a lucrative offer to anyone who wants to push their cause. Am I correct on that, boys?
Yeah, for sure.
You got that money. When you got the money,
all the money he made in Blink,
word,
100% helps him. So
that's got to help, man. No matter how you feel about Blink-182, which I think they stink on ice, but they got that paper though.
I used to like him when I was younger, and then I'm older now, and
you're just like great.
No. But all jokes aside, they're okay.
Oh, look who's afraid of Tom DeLonge.
Hey man, I don't want fucking aliens. I don't want fucking aliens in the
I think Mario's the only one in this
saying?
band who hasn't had like an embarrassing era of music. I was like a 90s kid. So I definitely have some skeletons in my musical closet that I've rather not discuss.
you got some Shania Twain back there, huh?
Oh, I love that.
This is Shania Twain, but a shout out to my brother, the elusive J.D. Smith. My older brother, he who directed one of our music videos and fucking killed it. He did such a good job. But he had like a stack of like REM. He had Madonna's Bedtime Stories.
That's not
and
bad.
He had fucking Ace of Base.
REM is pretty good.
94.
REM is pretty good though. They have the lyrics.
Yeah. They definitely have some good lyrics, but man, if there was like if I think of one band when I hear the word college rock, it is 100% REM.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that one. But some people even liked Hanson, for God's sakes. Jesus.
They're why I cut my hair as a kid. I had long blonde hair as a kid, like Kurt Cobain. I was about 12, 13. And fucking there it is, summer of '95, and Bop hits the radio waves, and then everybody's like, "Hey, you look like the kid in Hanson." I was just like, "Fuck you!" And I cut it
that's so
off.
funny.
Yeah.
Hanson, wow. I can't even believe,
Yeah, fuck those guys.
dude. You know, I can't even. I'm waiting for the time where one of them from Hanson actually dies, so we could hear like the fake pretentious musicians out there to say, "Oh, Hanson, they were my favorite band. They were so great. They're so talented."
Oh, Taylor Hanson. He was such a beautiful soul, an amazing guitar player, and he will be fucking missed.
Don't you hate that though? Don't you think that's so fucking hack? When you hear other musicians out there, once someone dies, they'll go up there and they'll say some like real pretentious shit. Don't you think that's kind of hack?
Yeah. Well, you know, other musicians are using that opportunity to get like a quote from Rolling Stone.
Word. They want to put themselves over. Yeah, they're saying those things to, you know, put themselves over in a very low key sort of way.
Yeah, for sure.
That's dirty.
Yeah,
Very dirty.
So.
I mean, the dirty and the good kind, or
Well, I mean, you know, there's greasy and then there's dirty. You know, you kind of like the greasy stuff, but once it gets kind of dirty, that's when you got to pull it back.
Gotcha.
Got to pull it back.
Yeah, I got to pull it back. Yeah.
Like, you know, like Chester, he should have pulled it back, but he didn't do that.
Oh, too soon, man.
Poor Chester.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, again, depression. It's one of those things where I would at least burn through every single dollar I had first before I called it a day. You know, who knows? Maybe you get really into like fucking, I don't know, bowling or something, and then you have a new path in life.
I just look at Robin Williams, though.
Yeah, that's a dark one, right?
Yeah,
That was pretty dark.
That's a really odd one. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Didn't expect that at all. Poor guy. He seemed like a good soul, but obviously he was quite troubled.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think when you're just ready to peace on out, you're ready to peace on out, I guess.
Right. Lots of weird ones, just like Anthony Bourdain, which is another guy who I never really watched the show or cared too much about him, but his listeners sure did care about the guy for whatever reason. But that's a name that I can't escape.
That's one where you can, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's one where you can go wild with the conspiracy theories there. Like you know the story behind that one, right?
I do, but then again, I'm naturally a skeptic about everything, really. You know, I question everything by default and kind of always have since I was a child. That wasn't something that was instilled in me at any age, but I was always thinking, like, what's the motive behind this? And for some reason, I'm not sure where that came in my mind, but that shit's been with me since like the 7th grade, where I seriously question everyone's motives.
What?
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying I'm just a very skeptical type of individual naturally. And in his case, I don't know, maybe he was just facing all sorts of weird issues. The girlfriend was also maybe a pretty bad influence, and you know what they say about those kind of women. You know, when you're a famous guy and you have these sort of women that latch onto you, sometimes, you know, they could sort of drag you into a sort of direction that you probably shouldn't have gone down to begin with.
And it sounds like she did, because
I think so, dude. I think so.
Is that she was the prominent leader in the Me Too movement, which has been a pretty important movement in terms of like, like standing up for women, which is always important, and it's definitely cleaned up like all the shittiness of Hollywood and the quote unquote casting couch.
Right.
But she was a big front runner for that movement, and then it comes out that she had sex with this underage actor. And then he paid the kid off when he was threatening to blackmail her for money, and so. Supposedly, the theory is that Anthony Bourdain knew that it was going to come out that he was the one who paid this kid off.
Oh my God!
To keep him quiet, and he hung himself.
Jesus, and yeah. By the way, I think what was he, like 17?
Yeah, 17 or something like that. It's kind of undeniable at this point, I feel like, because there's photos of them in bed, and I think they're I think they're shirtless or something, and they're kissing. So it is a fucking weird, dark little story.
Yeah, that could lead anyone to almost want to kill themselves, especially if you already have like these mental sort of issues going on with you, and you're into this woman, and you're thinking like you're gonna spend the rest of your life with her, and she's kind of hot, and you know you think you're in the clear, you think your life's gonna be so great, and then it turns out that she's banging like a younger dude. So that's gotta like fuck you up, right?
I mean, I think the issue there is I think he could probably understand, maybe not somebody underage. I think he could probably understand her hooking up with, you know, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if that dude's like or he was polyamorous or whatever. But I think for him, he just really feared more the blowback of silencing, you know, a victim in the wake of that movement, even though it wasn't a woman, it was a young man. I just think that he knew what type of social media and public lynching was coming for him.
The outlash.
If that turned out to be true and got out.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're probably right about that. The whole repercussions of his actions for sure would have been something that would have haunted the man. It's not like he wasn't self-aware, but also I looked up an article just now, and it says that both him and his wife or whatever, they cheated on each other, and it wasn't exactly a problem. So I guess we could go on with that and think we could rule that out, that he didn't kill himself over the whole cheating thing after all. Maybe.
Yeah. I think it was just for him. I just think he knew that if that secret came out, or when it came out, I think he just knew that his career was maybe going to be over with, and rather than deal with the blowback, he just said, "See you in another life."
And Tommy, well, how do you feel about this, Tommy? We need you to chime in now.
No comments, man.
No comments?
No, it's no comment, man. I think
just some cold shit, right?
Yeah. You know, it's a tough topic for me to
for sure.
talk about.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's not easy. It's a dark thing, and lots of individuals out there do contemplate killing themselves for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's not the answer though, you know, boys and girls. The sun will shine.
The answer, man.
The sun will shine on you tomorrow, boys and girls. Think about that.
Agreed. It is a temporary situation, 100%.
You'll be fine. Don't worry.
I gotta tell you, man, I had the worst fucking day ever yesterday, and I don't want to get too much into detail because it's related to something in my personal life.
Did nude photos of you leak online?
Well, I mean, I will be fucking proud about that.
Go ahead, tell us, Tommy. Go ahead.
No. I just don't know if anyone's listening from people that know me, so I don't want to say too much. You don't want to
burn any bridges. Well, how dare you? You should.
Well, it's in regards to, you know, I really can't talk about it. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but basically, it was to the point where, you know, I felt very uncomfortable in the space that I was and the people that I was surrounded with, and you know, I was very, very depressed, and you know, it was really rough for me to, you know, even be out, and you know, I went out with these guys, and you know, that kind of helped me out a little bit. But at the end of the day, you know, like you kind of just like slip it off, and I even told Jared, I'm like, hey, like I feel like fucking having a drink, you know, and who knows where that drink could have led. You know, it could have led to me, you know, throwing myself out of the balcony, you know, or something.
Damn, like that extreme.
Yeah, it was pretty dark, man. But you know, then today was a new day, and you know, I started all over again, and I'm fine now, you know. So I think it's more about how you handle the situation, and how much are you in control of yourself. And I think a lot of people need that extra help. And going back to what I was saying before, you know, it always helps to have those friends or family around you, for sure.
No, I agree with you on that one, for sure. You definitely need a couple friends to really help you get through some situations that could be hard for you to handle on your own, especially on your mental health. It is good to have someone to talk to, for sure. And the reason why I said the thing about your nudes being leaked is because earlier this week, this woman, this actress by the name of Demi Lovato, Her nudes were leaked just recently. Apparently, they were like the Snapchat photos that she must have sent out to someone, to some lucky guy, I guess. And hackers basically compromised her Snapchat account and actually obtained these photographs, and they've been leaked online. So that's the reason why I brought her. Well, I brought up the whole leaked nude things. And do you know this woman?
Demi Lovato.
She's like a Disney star, actress, and she's pretty hot.
Let's look her up right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, that's the thing, man. Like, I feel like people should know better and should know already beforehand the consequences when you're sending a picture. You know,
Big
like
time.
there's always that risk that someone's gonna get a hold of that picture and it's gonna be out there forever.
Somebody like Tommy.
Somebody, yeah.
Hey, funny story. Every time I gotta show the guys like a screenshot or a picture. Like there's an album with a nude. It always pops out out of nowhere. I'm like, oh shit, sorry guys. But yeah, this chick is pretty hot, man.
Yeah, for those in the chat room now, I do have a photograph of her right there, and as you can tell by your very own eyes, she is a quite lovely young lady, no doubt.
Yeah,
no,
wouldn't kick her out of bed
for sure. She is hot, and there's a wrong photograph there, boys and girls. I didn't mean to put that one up there of Norio Hayakawa. Yes. Sorry about that. If you were expecting a good-looking woman, and then you see an older man there with gray hair, I apologize. Didn't mean to put that one up, but I did mean to put this photograph up here. And good Lord, why can I not put this photograph up now? All of a sudden, I think it's rejecting this photograph of her. Oh, never mind. Now it's up. There we go. A bit of areola there displaying. Hopefully that doesn't get me kicked off of YouTube, but it's mostly displayed there. If you can see.
The good news for Tommy is that the only person who's going to leak Tommy's nudes is Tommy himself.
Tommy, are you going to leak your own nudes? Maybe. Okay. Well, that's a good answer there. You never know, right? Never know. But gentlemen, I hate to do this, but we definitely are running out of time here, and I apologize for that. I wish I could talk to you guys longer. I feel like I could talk to all of you guys for another hour here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been fun, and definitely want to do this again. And before I let you guys go, I feel like all of you guys should have your final say. Tommy, if you are alive with us here, Tommy, go ahead and say your final words.
Sorry, my apologies. I had my microphone muted, and
it's okay
because Jared was next to me, so we didn't want any microphone bleed. But first of all, I just gotta thank you, man. Thank you so much for having the guys. Like, you've been a great help, and it's great to be on your show. So, thank you so much, man. Hopefully, we can do this again soon, man. I think. If you want to do it again, I think after the tour will be a great time to do it, and we can tell you all the stories and spill the beans, my brother.
I would love that, and yeah, man, I appreciate that greatly. Mm-hmm. And Mario, if you are alive and not feeling so shy, give us your final words here, buddy.
Well, thank you for having us on your show, and come out and see you.
Hell yes, love that. And now, Jared, go ahead. The stage is yours, my friend.
Scream in your face.
Thank you. No, I just want to say I want to do a little thank you. I want to say thank you to Argyle and Damnation for taking us out on these shows. These guys definitely didn't have to do that. They made it, and that goes to Tommy too, by the way. So again, thank you to Argyle, Damnation, Tommy. Tommy worked like a motherfucker to add us to these shows like last minute. So I'm entirely grateful. And then my final thank you is to anybody who's listening who likes the band, just anybody who still gives a shit. We were gone for a long time. We were gone for 10 years. And in that time, marriages and mortgages happened. Some of us have kids. You know, and so for anybody to still give a shit, I'm pretty stoked and grateful for. So we have a new album coming. It's heavy as fuck. It's going to be good. It's just we've hit a few setbacks this year, but 2020 is going to be the year of zombies.
Love that. Very cool. Very cool. And once again, I do want to thank you guys for being a part of the program, and we will definitely do this again in the very near future, boys.
Oh yeah, thank you, Michael.
I'll try to come out there,
thanks
by
a
the
lot,
way.
man.
Yeah, Tommy, I'll try to go out there, buddy.
Yeah. Can I plug a last thing real quick?
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So just again, our tour coming up, the Outune Rights. It starts in October 30th at the Rebel Lounge, and it goes all the way through November 4th. Zombies will only be on the dates for the 30th, 31st, 1st, and the 2nd. So hopefully you guys can come out, and you can come out. So yeah, just hit me up, and we'll get you some tickets, my friend.
Really appreciate that. And once again, thank you guys for being a part of the program. And I look forward for all this, man. I look forward to talking to you guys again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, boys. Thank you so much. And have a good night wherever you guys are.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys.
Hey, you too, man.
Take care, buddy.
All right, bye.
Cheers.
Good night. And there they go, boys and girls. That was Mr. T. London. That's Tommy London. And, of course, Jared and Mario from the band Zombeast. I also want to thank all of you out there for being a part of the program. I want to thank Mr. Michael Horn for giving us a call. And, of course, Mr. Norio Hayakawa. Wasn't that amazing? It truly was. And, of course, as we take it home here tonight, definitely want to thank all the international listeners out there. And I want to thank those at the Fringe FM and, of course, Deprogrammed Radio. It's been fun. It really, really has. And of course, I'll be back next week with perhaps maybe James Fetzer. I believe he is next on the list. So we'll be going there, exploring whatever troubles have been plaguing Mr. James Fetzer. And there's been a lot. Oh, yeah. My goodness. And once again, there is a donation button right-hand side of your screen over at michaeldeacon.com. And of course, if you want extra bonus content, please go to patreon.com/michaeldeacon. Right there, you'll find the bonus content. And trust me, it's worth it. Stay safe, everyone, no matter where you are on this island Earth. Be safe. I'm Michael Deacon. And with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody.